Blog Talk Radio.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. Just, I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Welcome everybody to another BDA Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. This is your friend Mr. BDA, flying solo for the moment. Thank you guys for joining us. We've got ourselves a fantastic show because we got even better fights coming up this year. People are saying boxing is dead. They've been saying it for the past 30 years. I don't know. I think some of the fights that are being made right now would disagree with that. But anyway, listen, before we get down to that, let's get the business out of the way, fellas. You know the drill. If you want to finance this show, we do take donations. It's be the Super Chat, the Patreon page, or the BDA PayPal page. Why not? Whatever you can contribute, anything goes. Anything is worth the plight that we have to go through here at the Boxing Debate Arena. And we are appreciating everything you do for us, fellas. We really do. Whatever you can give. Now, if you can't donate, of course, the most important thing then is to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. And I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat room right now. SSB28, Vince Vegas, Scalebender, aka Uncle Pete, You Big Dummy, Mark Ant, the greatest boxer ever, GB Guthrie, René de Leon, and Christopher Roman. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm looking at the announcement here. It was announced yesterday, by the way. I think it has been confirmed. We've got Josh Taylor taking on Jose Ramirez on May the 22nd. This is a month that would include, of course, Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders. So let me tell you, fellas, it's shaping up to be a great year of boxing. We already had Campbell versus Ryan Garcia. We're going to have Chocolatito versus Estrada. Later on this month, we also have the rematch between Povetkin versus White. Possibly Fury versus Joshua. So, I mean, hey, what more can you ask for, right? I see we've got Stu on the line. And I'm going to be opening up the phone lines. Actually, the phone lines are open, so if anybody wants to call in as well. But Stu, are you there, man?
Yeah, what's happening, BDA?
How you doing, man? Thank you for being on, as always. I always appreciate it.
Yeah, can I just quickly say something? I just want to give a big thumbs up to you and Butcho for that masterpiece that you did, that documentary on Wilder Fury. If you haven't seen that, guys, then go to our channel, click on videos and watch it, because it's a very good watch and very funny as well. I mean, you did make me laugh, BDA, I must say that. Very good humour and very well put together. I mean, the editing skills of Butcho are second to none. You're narrating second to none. I mean, deadly combination. It's like Too Cool from the WWE, isn't it? Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty Too Hotty. That's what you two are. But yeah, just want to say big thumbs up, man. It was very impressive work.
Thank you, man. Greg. I'm glad you appreciate it. Of course, you made a little bit of an appearance there during the documentary as well. Yeah, some people were like, "This isn't a professional documentary." Yeah,
that wasn't about me. That one. That was about you two. I mean, it's just
it was about everybody.
A real good. It's such a shame YouTube had to give you a little copy. Was it? What happened? Because you had to edit it again. What happened with that?
Well, yeah, you just had to cut a couple of parts. Just for anybody out there that's going to be making videos, there is a certain time limit. I think it's about 8 seconds at this point. If you put in more than 8 seconds,
okay.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Oh,
the algorithm.
Like I said, it was very well put together. Anyway, but yeah.
Thank you, man. Well, I mean, the documentary it's about the whole. Yeah, the documentary is about the whole build-up and everybody that participated in it, including us here on the internet. So I'm glad you guys liked it, and thank you for everything. Thank you, everybody. That, by the way, there was a lot of people there watching it during the premiere, so I really appreciate everybody. And there's a lot of people that donated too. Recognize donated, Mark donated, a whole bunch of people that I didn't make a list, but everybody that donated, everybody that watched, everybody that hit the thumbs up. Thank you guys for that. We really appreciate it. Man,
the best team in the business we've got. Got the best team in the business, mate. When you look at our panel and even our listeners, I mean, some of our callers, I mean, really high standards recently, aren't they? You know, the standard of the calling has got quite impressive for me. You know, before, like I said, we've always had decent callers and good callers, but we've had some terrible ones as well. But just recently, I've been listening to the show back, and I've been liking what I'm hearing. And that's what it's about at the end of the day. You know, you don't want to do a show to become a fucking circus act. You do want it to be serious at times, and you do want to talk boxing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to go with the flow. That's something that I've been learning in the last year. Sometimes I come in with things planned, and then I go, you know what? Just let the fucking flow go and see what happens, man. All right, I see we got Mark and Gonzalo. Hey, Gonzalo, by the way, everything worked out so far, man?
Yeah, with my son, he has pneumonia.
Oh, shit. But I mean, at least
that's the answer. It's treatable, though. We caught it early. It's treatable. 5 to 10% out of 100. So 5 to 10 out of 100 children will die if not treated. 30% if they're low weight. He wasn't low weight. He was normal.
Good.
He's got 2 IVs. Yeah, we're doing everything we can.
It's good to hear that at least they were able to pinpoint what it was, because when you told us last night, it was like, whoa, what the, like, they didn't know what it was, but now you're saying at least they identify what it is. And like I said, hopes and prayers, man. Our prayers are with you and your son. And
yeah, of course, Gonzalo, man. All the best for that one, bro.
Yeah, Gonzalo, hopes and prayers to you and your kid and your family.
Yeah, thanks. I have to go here in a little while, but I'll be with you guys for about an hour. I'll be listening.
Right. You stay as long as you want, bro. You know, at the end of the day, there's more important things to life than boxing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Hey, by the way, the Gonzalo, before, because again, I don't know if when you're gonna drop out. So, I mean, do you want to comment on the Ramirez-Taylor fight? They just announced it last evening, I believe, or yesterday.
It's a good fight. It's a great matchup between 2 warriors, and everybody's been wanting to see this a unification fight in one of my favorite divisions, the 140 pound division, right? Now, the junior lightweight division. Yep.
Who do you favor in that fight? Because the last couple of comments that I've read about this fight, a lot of people are picking Josh Taylor, but it seems like there's other people who are saying it's a 50-50 fight. What do you think?
It's a 50-50 fight. It all depends. Josh Taylor's slightly bigger and probably stronger. Ramirez is stronger, but he's just a little bit smaller. It's like when Chavez, he fought at the welterweights. He wasn't as dominant. He couldn't dominate like he did at lightweight. So it all depends how he can fight against a stronger guy. But, you know, Ramirez still has the capability to hurt Taylor like he was hurt against Baranchik. Now, Ramirez got a good chin, but will his punching power be able to really hurt Josh Taylor? And then can he overwhelm Josh Taylor? We'll have to see. I mean, it is a 50-50 fight. It's a 50-50 fight. It could be a real close fight, but it also could be a blowout for either guy. If Ramirez can hurt Taylor, he can blow him out because he's a good finisher. But if Taylor can take Ramirez's punches and he throws from many directions, what we got a good arsenal Taylor does, and he can take Ramirez's punches, then it could be a blowout on Taylor's behalf. He can take over the fight, and if Ramirez is not that big enough to deal with the slightly bigger man and stronger man, that's a wrap for him, man. But yeah, they both got good resumes, and this is the fight we want to see.
Absolutely.
At least I do.
Absolutely. Excellent resumes, the best fighting the best. You can't ask for more, really. I mean, especially from Josh Taylor. Under 20 fights, look at his gosh darn resume. The winner cements their position. Now it's in the pound-for-pound list. I mean, now if Josh Taylor beats this guy and he beats him in impressive fashion, he's got to be top 5 pound-for-pound. Or am I wrong? Somebody tell me.
No, I had the same idea. That if which guy ever wins this fight, he should at least be 5 or at least 4 on the top half of the pound for pound, top 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem if someone said he's number 5 pound for pound on the list if he wins that fight. I mean, Ramirez is the one we've all been waiting for, really. I mean, I'm hoping Josh Taylor can come through this one. We've had a real bad time in the UK recently, and I don't think I can have another defeat, especially from a Mexican.
Wow, I mean, come on.
But look, you know, it's a tremendous fight. What do you think, Mark? I'd like to hear what you think on it.
I think this is the fight that cements whether Josh Taylor is British or Scottish, you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Yeah, if he gets
like Andy Murray at Wimbledon, every year.
Yeah, Andy Murray. He's British when he gets to the final, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, it's a great fight. It's a great fight. Like, for me, I've always liked both guys. I've watched them coming through for quite a long time. They were both good, very, very good amateurs. There's not a lot between them. They're practically the exact same height. They're both 5'10". In terms of like reaches and stuff, like Ramirez actually has the reach advantage, so it may favor Josh Taylor on the inside having the shorter arms. I don't know, man. It's tricky. Last time I seen Ramirez with a southpaw was Zepeda, and he didn't have a good night.
Mm-hmm.
So
somebody was going to say something, I think. Well, if not, listen. With the Zepeda fight, Zepeda was very elusive there. And that's one thing that I've always found interesting about Josh Taylor is that he's very tall and long for the division, and yet he chooses to fight, for the most part, on the inside. He did it against Baranchik. He did it against Prograis. He couldn't really do it that much against Post, although he tried. So he seems to be more of a slugger than a boxer. Now, he said, I believe he said this, I should find the quote just to verify, but I think he said, any way I fight him, I can beat him. So he's obviously very confident. Yeah.
You see, I think it's a similar thing with Josh Taylor. Is very similar with Crawford when it comes to, I think it's just a bit overrated when it comes to boxing skills and more of a fighter. I think Josh Taylor is much better when he steps in the pocket and starts throwing the short hooks and taking the fight to these guys. I think sometimes when Taylor tries to be too slick at range, sort of gets outboxed. Prograis was doing it. Postol was doing it. I mean, you know, I just think with Taylor, and that's why I think he just got the nod. But I think if he'd have stayed at his boxing at range, I think Prograis would have won the fight. So yeah, I agree with that.
Like Josh is very good, like mid to inside, very good.
He is, right? Yeah.
So is Ramirez. I don't think Josh is actually as good as people make him out to be going backwards. Some people think he's second or like trying to box at range, like you're talking about. Regis was just ripping his guard apart with a double jab, ripping it to shreds.
Who did you say?
That's the problem. That was the problem with Prograis was actually outboxing. Taylor looks better than Prograis on the eye, But when boxing fundamentals, Prograis is just a bit better for me, and that's why when it comes down to a chess match, Prograis was coming on top. But it's just when, like Mark just said, when Taylor steps into mid range and in the pocket, that's when he starts becoming a new man, and that's when he sort of like overwhelms fighters. A bit like Crawford. I think Crawford's very similar.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's true. Prograis was he had that up jab, which is a notoriously difficult jab to parry or defend against. But nevertheless, he was getting hit with it. Ramirez is not that, he doesn't have that type of jab. But he does. I mean, the guy is very aggressive, pinpoint accuracy with some of his shots, especially to the body. One thing I don't like, and we mentioned this before the Postal fight, and that was by looking at the GIFs that we were analyzing, and that he does tend to fade a little bit, Ramirez does, in the middle rounds. And particularly like the 8th, 9th, and it seemed to cost him a little bit against Postal. Again, the people were divided, I remember, with that fight in regards to the decision. So it seems like, I think, I kind of agree with Mark here. He does, Taylor, listen, you look at his resume, you go, whoa, look at all the undefeated fighters he's beaten. But then you analyze the fights, and okay, he won. But I guess what I'm trying to say is how much better is he than Ramirez? It would appear not by that much.
I think with Taylor, I think he's just got to get the tactics right on the night. I do believe sometimes he's got it wrong early on, and he's had to. This is the sign of a world class fighter, though. When Plan A's not working, you've got a Plan B to dig in the pocket for it and bring out, and that's what Taylor does. And and that's the sign of a good champion. Look, he's just had to scrape a few of these wins. He has, because things haven't always gone his way. So, of course, Ramirez is not going to be one where he just goes in and steamrolls Ramirez. That's not going to happen. This is going to be a very good fight, a dog fight for me. I just don't think Ramirez is good enough to try and box with Taylor in this one. I think Taylor just ahead of Ramirez when it comes to boxing. I think he's going to have to take the fight to Taylor and see if he can sort of like take the tank from Taylor, because Taylor does have. That's probably one problem with Taylor. He used to, later rounds, he's always flagging a little bit, holding on. He was against Prograis,
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'd be with Ramirez. Take the fight to Josh Taylor. It's a bit like how Josh Kelly lost the other day. Josh Kelly was looking pretty early on, but it was just the pressure in the end just got to him. You could see him slowing down. Then all of a sudden, these shots that were missing are now hitting. And you just see they sort of lose the will to win. And I think that's the way Ramirez has got to go about business in this one. He's got to sort of snatch Taylor's soul, because I think if it's left to a boxing match, a chess match, I just think Taylor comes on top on this one.
One thing that I noticed about Ramirez, and I mentioned it before, he's very active with the lead hand. Prograis was doubling up on that jab. He got the shorter arms. Like Rival mentioned, okay, in this case, Ramirez got slightly longer arms, but he's very active. He might not have that great of a jab. I don't know, but 70%, I would say, the body of his work, of his offense is the lead hand. Whether it's a jab, it's a little uppercut coming up, and it's that left hook that he got, the lead left hook. That's his power punch. So we gotta take that into account. That lead hand's gonna be very active.
Gonzalo, the only thing I don't like with Ramirez is when he's more active with his lead hand, he tends to leave his head on the line and his body. So he doesn't, because when he's coming in, he's cutting the ring off a bit, and then he just does singular jabs. You'll see him using his head left and right, a bit like Maidana did with Floyd. He'll start using much more head movement. But as he doubles and triples it up, it's kind of like he gets caught in between thoughts and he stops moving his head. So he can't be countered like Cepeda showed.
Another thing as well, Mark, when he loads up to the body, he's open to hooks. He telegraphs that shot, and he loads up. He sort of swings his body into it, and you're open. You leave such a wide opening for a shot, for a big shot at that as well. And that Taylor's best shot is the left counter. So,
man, still, this is what I'm thinking, right? Somebody's liver is going to be damaged after this fight, but I don't know who. You get what I mean, bro? That's going to be the money punch of this fight, the body shot, man. They're both accurate body punches.
Yeah. Taylor's liver shot would be more powerful because he's a left-hander, and that aligns with the right side of the body. His left is we're facing
when I watch Ramirez fight. when I watch Ramirez fight, I just see him leaving far too many openings for Taylor to exploit. And the thing is that the openings that Ramirez is leaving, they're Taylor's best shots. And I just think you can't keep letting Taylor tee up with that left hook all night long before it starts to tell its toll. So, look, it's a 50-50 fight for me. But if I had to put my house on it, I would go Taylor. I think he's just I think he can match Ramirez when it comes to fighting, but I think he's also outbox Ramirez.
It's interesting, man.
Because every fight's different, you know. And I see someone in the chat, I think, I'm saying, I can't remember who it was, saying that Carlos Mendoza was saying that he doesn't think that Taylor will want to go to war with Ramirez. But I've seen enough of Taylor to know that Taylor is a problem in the pocket, mid-range for anybody. You know, I think when you take it to Taylor, you could be in trouble yourself. So it's going to be a lot of thinking going on in these camps. So it's one of them. Even I've usually got a game plan for certain fighters. I can usually think of one, but this is one where I'm going to have to sit down and think about it because,
really,
like I said,
really pay attention. And the corners is so.
The Tartan Tornado has a lot of heart, man, and he can take a punch even to the body because Prograis is really, really a power puncher, in my opinion. He hits way harder than Ramirez. Ramirez is active and he can hit hard with both hands. Maybe out of 100%, I will rate his power about a 75. But Ramirez, you know, he throws a lot of punches. Now Prograis, I think he got a 90% like power. Or
he hits like a train, dude. He hits like a damn train. I was just gonna say one thing that we definitely will have to pay attention to is one, Ramirez has had a little bit more activity. He had that 12-round double post all since his last fight, and Taylor had that 1 round against Kong Song. And secondly, the trainers in the corner, it's Robert Garcia versus Ben Davison, because Taylor's moved from the Wiggins. And we gotta be honest here, that has me a little bit apprehensive.
Yeah. That's what makes it 50-50 for me. If it weren't Ben Davison in there, I'd be going 55.
If it was still Shane McGuigan, I'd be more confident.
Sorry, Taylor.
Hey,
Ben Davison, I think the way Josh Taylor fights, I just think Ben Davison is the wrong guy for him. You know, I just think I'd have liked to see Taylor go with someone. I don't know. Well, like I said, you're scratching your head in the UK. I mean, it's not a lot to choose from, is there? Let's be real. I mean, none of them are really setting the world alight. But even Ingle Gym, even the Ingle Gym or something like that, it's just a different
maybe
sort
Caldwell.
of style.
Maybe Caldwell.
But someone that's gonna get the best out of his style. And I think Ben Davison, with his negative back foot style, is not the way for Josh Taylor. Like you said, Mark, he just doesn't impress me too much on the back foot. I'm the same.
But having said that, this is a fight that can help prove Ben Davison because he's under the cosh here. He's under the cosh. He's got a fighter who has a style that he's not used to using. And if he can improve Taylor's back foot game a bit and mix it in with his ability to fight in the pocket, we could be looking at something very special. Very special.
Yes, but the thing is, I just think I'll know straight away if Taylor has decided to go to plan B, which is usually when a fighter goes to plan B, it's usually his plan. Because when you're in there, right, you have to take initiative as the fight goes along. Certain situations will arise where you have to do certain things. And usually the best fighters will adapt and make adjustments. And I think we'll know straight away if Ben Davison's game plan ain't working, because he's going to come out on the back foot. That's how he's going to come out. He's going to try and box on the back foot. You bet your life. And
that scares me. That scares me.
Me too, brother. Me too, brother. Me too.
Not even in terms of stoppages, in terms of points. Personally, I thought Postol nicked the Ramirez fight. Right, I thought he did, but I knew he wasn't going to get the nod on the damn cards because he was on the back foot the entire time. Ramirez was engaging, so he was deemed the general. You get what I mean? So Taylor can't afford to give up those inches. He's the away fighter.
Look, but Ben Davison. Sorry, go ahead, BD. You've been quiet, brother.
No, go ahead. Because
Ben Davison thought going to America to fight Deontay Wilder on the back foot, nicking it, pop shotting your way to a points win. It's a good game plan. But I just couldn't get it from the start. It's no coincidence. As soon as I saw he was with Sugar Hill, second fight, I got predicted 7th round stoppage Tyson Fury, and I was right. I mean, Ben Davison is the most overrated coach in world boxing for me.
Yeah, why did he leave McGuigan? Is there any backstory to that?
Yeah, sure.
Everyone leaves McGuigan. McGuigan's a bit like Joan Collins. Just everyone wants to leave her, don't they? In the end, when she was going out, she had about 6 husbands. They all want to leave her. I mean, he's a bit like that, isn't he? It's they're McGuigans. There's something about them. I mean, I don't know what's the feeling of McGuigans in Ireland, Mark? You tell me, man.
I don't know other people's opinions. I've got my own opinions on the shady bastards.
Well, there you go.
But what did happen then between the McGuigan? Why did he say?
Yeah, I can give you exactly what happened if you want to know. Like, from pretty much the start, Taylor was signed by Cyclone Promotions, which was Barry McGuigan's promotional company, and under Cyclone Promotions, you're also contracted to their choice of trainer and their manager. Their manager is Barry's brother, whose name is escaping me right now, and the trainer is Shane. So they were triple dipping. The McGuigans were triple dipping out of Josh Taylor's purses. Josh Taylor, he won the World Boxing Super Series with the McGuigans, right? He felt as though after that they weren't being able to line up the fight, so he wanted a new deal. He signed with Top Rank. Shane McGuigan got pissed off, annoyed, and said there's no loyalty. If you want loyalty these days, get a dog. It'd be better than these anyway. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. He wanted better promotional opportunities, because the reality of it is that, the McGuigans got him into that tournament, but the reality of it is he won the tournament. He won. Exactly, Mark. They didn't promote that tournament. The Sauerlands did. Matchroom promoted that. That was on the Zone. That final was on Sky Sports box office. He was fighting in front of a couple thousand people on Channel 5 against British level guys before that tournament. He managed to get into the tournament based on his ranking. Based on his ranking with the things, he elected to go there. They initially told him not to sign up to this tournament. He still signed down to join it. They actually didn't want him to. So then he has the opportunity with 2 belts. There's another champion with 2 belts. He has to create a situation where he's able to make that fight happen. How do you do that? In-house, signed to Top Rank. You have a chance to be undisputed. And that's what happened.
I mean, it's not just him though. Frampton was another one. That apparently these McGuigans, they cost too much money. They're taking too much out of these fighters' purse. They're greedy, basically, and it's got to be their way. Obviously, narcissists and control freaks. This is what I'm hearing. And look, they had a few dates with Channel 5, but they never really could take Josh Taylor onto the next level. I mean, let's be real. Josh Taylor basically broke through thanks to Eddie Hearn giving him a fight with O'Hara Davis. That's where we were with the McGuigans profiling Taylor. Sorry?
That's a fact.
Exactly. It was Eddie Hearn that gave the world Josh Taylor, because basically I'd heard about him but not seen much of him at all. And it was a fight with O'Hara Davis that sort of broke him through to the mainstream, and that's when I knew that this kid could really seriously fight. Because I know O'Hara Davis is a bum, but he went through O'Hara Davis like a fucking doorway, and no one really does that. And then
at the time, still O'Hara Davis, we're calling him a bum now, right? We're saying that he's bad now. At that time, he wasn't deemed that. They went into that fight 50-50 evens with the bookies, and he destroyed him.
He did, and look, and it wasn't just that. It was the way he dealt with, like, even Vasquez. I mean, the way he dealt with him and Postal and Baranchik. I mean, Prograis. I mean, that resume, it just gets you excited, don't it? You know, how can you hate on a man like Josh Taylor, done 20 fights and has a resume like that? For me, on the pound for pound list already, I'm not going to be too overhyping him, sort of thing, and say top 5, but he's got to be on that top 10. 10 or 9 would do me. I mean, the guy's proved it over and over again, and now he's fighting Ramirez, another fucking world champion, another dangerous, unbeaten guy, Mexican. I mean, look, I just think the best thing Taylor could have done was get rid of McGuigan and go with Top Rank or Eddie Hearn. But he went and sort of like nullified that move by going with Ben Davison because he started to handicap himself again for me.
Hey, fellas, before we continue, man, let's go to a phone call here. Somebody's calling in. Let's see who that is. See if they got to give us their opinion on Ramirez Taylor. I was going to say Postal. 559, you're on the air. 559, what's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me good?
Hold on. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that for me, it's one of the fights that I've been waiting for the longest time. I got my flight and I got my hotel already for that shit. So I know most people right now are picking Josh Taylor to win. I may be a little biased because I know Jose Ramirez personally, but dude, what I've seen from Ramirez lately is, so everybody lately has been going towards Freddie Roach, right? And if you notice, Freddie Roach always has the same game plan, which is we're gonna hit him, we're gonna jab, and we're gonna get away. We're gonna jab. So their game plan is always to hit and not get hit, but not really do any damage, right? It's not about beating him. It's about just kind of not letting him beat you. So he's gotten a lot better at closing the distance. I know Postol, some people thought that he could have won. There's no fucking way, dude. Postol looked horrible. Jose Ramirez was ready to go to the club after that fight. It was good. But Ramirez, I think his power is a little underestimated right now. And to be honest, I honestly think that Taylor has a weak chin. I think he got hurt with Iceman. If Ramirez lands one of those shots, I think he's going down.
Listen,
I really do.
The thing is, don't call her. You say he's at a weak chin, but he's been in there with big punches. I mean, look, just O'Hara Davis earlier was talking about. All right, not the best fight round. Be a real big puncher, man. He sleeps people when he catches them clean. You got Postal, who's a big puncher, knocked out Matisse. All right, everyone knocks out Matisse. Forget about that one. Then you've got Baranchik, who's a very big puncher. Prograis, who's probably the biggest puncher in the division for me. So he's getting hit by world-class operators who have world-class punching power, and you're sitting there saying he ain't got no chin. I mean, I disagree with that. I disagree. The problem with Taylor, I think his tank is his problem. And in the latter rounds, he starts to blow a bit, and that's when you can get to him.
Look, I agree with you what you said. But for the whole time I was watching that Prograis fight with Josh Taylor, I kept seeing Prograis go after that eye, and he fucked it up. But I was thinking all the time, if he hits that jaw, I think he would have got him. However, if you ask Prograis, he did an interview about a month after that fight. Their plan was to have him fight on the back foot for some reason. And then when they noticed he was losing that, because I think Josh Taylor is a good come-forward boxer, which is a little rare, but he's a good come-forward boxer. Not a pressure fighter like Ramirez, but a boxer coming forward. He was getting Prograis. And when Prograis decided to go back to his style like he normally does, because I thought Prograis was going to win, when he started putting pressure on Taylor in the last 3 rounds, he was lighting him up. He started winning all those rounds.
Yeah, but the guy got headbutted in the eye. Did you see the state of his eye? I mean, look, that's why that was happening. He got headbutted in the eye and he couldn't see the shots coming. The eye was closed. And look, like I said, his tank obviously is not the best at the moment. That's his weakness for me.
He didn't go down though.
But he didn't go down. He won the fight. Like I said, Ramirez didn't exactly set the world alight. Mark had Postal winning. And a lot of people did. Do you know what I mean? So look, let's not pretend here that we're fucking... let's not pretend here that we're talking about Salvador Sanchez here. No, we're not. Ramirez is nowhere near that level. And if anything, I think Taylor is the better fighter and I'm picking him to win this. But Ramirez is nothing special. Let's not pretend he is.
Can I ask the caller a question still?
Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, bro.
Caller, what was your thoughts on Ramirez's chin when he was in the ring with Johnny Garcia? When he hit the canvas from a right hand. And he staggered on his feet for 4 seconds.
Are you talking about that? It was like his 10th fight?
Am I talking about the what?
10th fight, he said. about his 10th fight.
Was that like
I don't know if it was his 10th fight. I wouldn't say it was his 10th fight. Was it his 10th fight?
No, let me see.
It was up in Tijuana. Yeah.
Johnny Garcia was in 2015. So that
I
was
thought he was like 15 and 0.
Okay.
15 and 0.
Okay, I'll answer you that because I was at that fight. He fought in the Moore at Tachi Palace. So Ramirez that wasn't so. I think Ramirez was trying to pivot and he got caught in his leg, and when Johnny hit, he didn't even hit him in the face, he hit him in the shoulder. But Ramirez was up before the ref even turned around to count. He wasn't hurt. It was just a stumble. He fell. It was a knockdown because, he got caught on his feet. He didn't get hurt.
Like I said, Taylor's never been on the canvas yet. So if you want to talk about chinny, we'll talk about Ramirez being the chinny one out the two. And let's be real, if Ramirez had fought half the guys that Taylor had fought, he might not even have an unbeaten record. That's how confident I am that he's not got the best chin. So it's going to be it's a 50-50 fight for me.
I just feel like he gets hurt. I feel like he has gotten hurt. And Ramirez.
Yeah, but Mark's just proved to you that Ramirez also gets hurt. You're going on like one guy's going to hit the other guy on the chin, and that's going to be it. No, Mark's just gave you an example of Ramirez being badly hurt. Now, when you've seen Taylor hurt, you've seen him hurt, but then recover quite quickly. And you know what I mean? You've never really seen him doing the fucking Trevor Burns thing, have you?
He stumbled on the other guy's feet as he was pivoting. I was at that fight.
You know what? That's true. I didn't cheat on my ex-wife. I just accidentally tripped and my dick fell into another woman's pussy. Now listen, I didn't see. No, I'm kidding. But look, listen, caller. I didn't see the fight you guys are talking about, the Johnny Garcia fight. So I can't chime in on whether he was hurt or not. But if I may say this, we're gonna find out who's who in that fight. That's the beauty of boxing. We can debate this all we want. This guy's chin, this guy's hand speed. They're gonna fight each other. So, caller, before we move on, hold on. Let me just ask because we gotta move on from this call, Stu. So I just want to ask the guy one final question: who are you picking for the fight?
I think it's gonna. Well, I mean, I do have it close, but I think Ramirez. If Ramirez gonna win, it's gonna be by KO, most likely a body shot. If it goes to decision, I think probably Taylor takes it.
All right. Well, there you have it, man. Good call. You brought up some pertinent points to create a lot of discussion. Call back next time. All right, man? Appreciate it.
Thank
he did bring up some very good points. Look, I'm just not sure about the chinny one. I mean, I think we overuse the word chinny in boxing.
I don't think either of these guys are chinny at all. That's why I brought up him being on the canvas, because if you're saying, Baranchik hit him with a shot and he kind of moved a little bit, or Prograis was hitting him to the eye and his eye was falling up, he's chinny. He was hit with monster shots, but both of them never went down.
Yeah, well, as I said, we overuse the word chinny, and it's just because someone's chinny doesn't give them doesn't mean they haven't got a chance. I mean, I've seen it when, this is the best example I can use is when Junior Jones beat Barrera twice. I mean, Junior Jones had one of the worst chins I'd ever seen, but yet he managed to beat Barrera twice. So chins are not, I think we overvalue the chins. Of course, a good chin helps, but if you've got the skills to keep away from the big shots, and that also
they got good chins.
They
got good chins, but they're throwing power and they're throwing accurate punches. They're throwing fast. You can clip anybody in the right spot and they could get hurt. But what's most amazing about these two guys, I believe, that they got great hearts. And if you get hurt and you got a good heart and you're in survival mode, you're extra dangerous, right? And that's why Taylor, the times that he's got touched, he's been able to bounce back and that immediately and get the other guy hurt as well, because he has great heart, as evidenced by his fights. So does Ramirez. He's a good finisher.
Yeah, that was the skill of Joe Calzaghe. If you go back and watch Calzaghe fights, he'd get hurt or he'd be in a bad situation, but grit and determination, he'd turn it round. I mean, was it Byron Mitchell? I think it was. He got dropped by Byron Mitchell with a big shot. And he gets up. Byron Mitchell's come in for the kill. Next minute, Calzaghe's landed this monster. And Byron Mitchell's the one hurt. And he ends up finishing the fight. So that's the dog in a fight like that, and I love that. Evander Holyfield was the same. You thought Evander Holyfield was about to go, and next minute he's coming out with this fucking this combination.
He was pretty much knocked. He was pretty much knocked out on his feet against Smoking Bert Cooper, wasn't he? And then all of a sudden,
Bert Cooper. I remember that fight well. Smoking Bert Cooper.
He had him asleep on his feet for like 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden, Holyfield throws 8 punches. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Even Bo. I mean, how he kept coming back from them shots he was taking off Bo. I mean, you certain fighters you see that they're really dangerous when they're hurt.
The warriors.
He's one of them, definitely.
You know, the interesting thing about the whole power discussion we were having is that anything can happen, man. I mean, just think about another guy from 140, Cepeda. He starched Baranchyk. I mean, who saw that one coming, right? I mean, you want to say stoppage, okay, but like if you look at some of his other fights, you could say, "Wow, he's not gonna ice Baranchyk. Taylor couldn't do it, so why is Cepeda gonna be able to?" And then boom,
exactly.
It's all about what happens.
Look, it doesn't matter how good the chin is. I mean, you let someone hit you clean on the button, square on, with your hands down. I mean, Carl Froch, one of the best chins I've seen in a boxing ring, but he let George Groves tee up on him with a big right hand, walking onto it with his chin in the air, square on, and fucking nearly got stopped, didn't he? I mean, this is what I'm saying. It don't matter how good the chin is. Muhammad Ali had a great chin, but in the end, you can't take them sort of shots. Do you know what I mean? I've seen it time and time again. Great chins get cracked because if you've got a good chin, you've also got to protect it. And a lot of fighters, I think because they've got a good chin, they neglect defence sometimes. They'll take a shot to get their own off, and that's a dangerous game to play, even if you've got a good chin. And I've seen it so many times.
Hand speed will be pivotal in this one.
Of course it will. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them tough ones. I mean, look, Ramirez is a live dog in this for me. I just fancy Taylor. I think Taylor's like he's the sort of guy I think that's he's gonna take a real good guy to beat Taylor.
Hey, don't forget
147.
Don't forget Carl Froch. He had that Groves fight, and then of course he had the rematch in Wembley. Carl, how many fans were in attendance?
Before I knocked out George Groves at Wembley Stadium in front of 80,000.
Of course, you can't forget that. He always has to mention that every time somebody asks him about the fight. But Mark, you were going to say something?
I was just saying I was one of them. I was one of the 80,000 that he always refers to me every time he opens his mouth.
Did you go there, Mark? Did you?
Yeah. Special day.
I'm going Joshua Fury. The minute I see that fight signed, I'm looking for 4 tickets. Me and my mate and two chicks are going to go, mate. Definitely, I'm missing that one. I don't care how much.
I think that's taking place in Dubai, though, still.
Oh, is it? Oh, fuck that. I ain't going there.
It's not taking place in the UK. The bid for the location is in the Middle East. It's between Qatar, Dubai, and Saudi Arabia.
Oh, Eddie, I'm all for the fans. Hearn is sold out again, isn't he?
Yeah,
when this guy's going to realise what this guy's about, man? Just because he gives a couple of good interviews on fucking Coogan's channel, you'll fall for the bullshit. You'll fall for his bullshit, mate.
Coogie Bear.
You know what I mean?
I always say, don't trust a guy that doesn't wear underwear. That's just my philosophy, and it's helped me out a lot at this point in my this point in my life.
That's why I don't trust you.
Don't trust a man. Dad fucking went to the Epstein's fucking island. That's how about that?
Yeah, that's true. What the fuck were they doing over there, man? I don't even want to know. But
I was just gonna say, I think every one of us can agree. Both these guys hit hard. Both these guys are good in the pocket. Both of these guys have chins. Both these guys are tough. Both these guys are voluminous. So we can expect an absolute war in a fight of the year contender. We can actually expect that.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Like BJ said earlier, I mean, boxing's starting to pick up. I'm starting to get that vibe for it again. You've got Saunders, Canelo. You've got this one. You've got Fury, Joshua. It's looking like it's going to happen. They're the sort of fights I want to see. You know what I mean? And
Taylor's a good boxer. Also, he comes forward. But if you look at one interesting fact, if you go back and look at his knockouts, because he got a lot of knockouts, he's dropped guys with different punches. Pretty much everybody that he has dropped, whether it's a left hook to the body, a right hook upstairs, an uppercut with either hand, he's done it all with the punches as far as dropping the other opponent.
Great point, man. Yeah, it's two-handed puncher. Absolutely, man.
I see with Ramirez. I think he's just not schooled enough for me to beat Taylor. And what I mean by schooled is defensively. And I just see him telegraphing a lot of his shots. World-class fighters are going to see them all day long. They're going to be countering as well. And I just think everything Taylor does, dangerous. Like Ramirez sort of plays into that. Like the hooks and the way he loads up on the body. I mean, just leaves himself wide open and short little mid-range shots from Taylor. I mean, that's when he's at his best. I just don't like Taylor when he's at range, at distance, flicking out the jab. Nothing special. I've seen 100 fighters like that in the UK. I like it when Taylor gets in the pocket and is all about business. And I think he's going to have to mix it up with Ramirez. I do. I just think it'd be suicide to keep going toe to toe with the Mexican for 12 rounds. You asking for trouble. He's going to have to mix it up in this one. But I just think he's just a little bit ahead of Ramirez right now.
Listen, would it surprise any of you if Taylor starts out boxing saying, hey, look, Postal had success in making Ramirez come to him. I'm going to try to do it as well. And then all of a sudden, he just reverts to slugging it out?
Well, that's what I just said, bro. I said that earlier. That's what's going to happen. Ben Davidson's game plan is going to be on the back foot, seeing if you can nick it on points. And it's not going to
go out the window.
The game plan go out the window. Taylor uses his own initiative, like Tyson Fury had to do in the fucking latter rounds of that one, the first one. And it'll take the fight to Ramirez. And that's when you'll see fireworks.
Hey, by the way, somebody in the chat room is asking...
Ben Davidson's going to bring 0 to this fight. Josh Taylor's going to have to use his own initiative.
Hey, listen, by the way, somebody's asking me in the chat room, hey, how do you know Eddie Hearn doesn't wear any underwear? Exhibit A. Let me show it to you fellas right here. Oh, come on. Hey.
Is it when he was wearing toilet paper to the fight with Canelo and Yildirim?
Oh, come on, don't tell me that. Ah, fuck.
There was no visible panty line there, bro.
Hold on. Jesus, Louise. All right, you know what? I'm going to play it later. By the way, we've got Boxing Chief, a.k.a. Jay, on the line. Jay, are you there? I can't hear you, Jay. I think he's trying to talk. No, we can't hear you, Jay. Or can you guys hear him, or is it just me?
No, I can't hear him either.
All right, Jay, you got to come back out.
No, I can't hear him.
Jump out and jump back in, man, because we can't hear you. Apology Man says, no, BDA, please don't show it again. I'm going to show it, man. Don't worry about it. I got to do it, man, because somebody's asking me a question. I got to show you that I'm not just pulling this out of my ass. Out of my, by the way, I do wear underwear. Don't listen to any of the false news, fake news that goes on around here. But I mean, look, listen. What's his name? Josh Taylor really did surprise me a little bit. First of all, when he stopped Titire, right? Nobody had ever done that before. And then when he fought Ryan Martin, he outboxed him, essentially, before stopping him. So that's the fight when I said, oh, okay, this is a tall dude. It makes sense that he would box from the outside. But then since then, he has not done that. So it's possible that maybe Ben Davison, who loves to have guys fighting off the back foot, is going to get him to do that. But again, like you guys are saying, I think he's going to end up going. He's going to maybe not see the results he wants, and he's going to decide, Taylor, that is, hey, listen, I'm just going to slug it out with the guy, which would be good for us fans, by.
Whatever this fight starts out in the first 4 rounds, by the 8th round, it's going to be a completely different fucking fight.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. But this is why Tyson Fury got rid of Ben Davison, because when he got dropped badly and then got back up and took the fight to Wilder, he realised there and then that that's the way to beat Wilder. You push him back, you put it on him. So then Ben Davison you didn't need him anymore, did you? I mean, what do you need Ben Davison for if you're going to take the fight to someone? He's not going to really be any help to you. So that's why he went to the Kronk. I agree with Mark. I'm not sure that Ben Davison's going to bring much to Taylor. I think Taylor's going to have to use his own initiative in this one.
You know, I'm going to tell you guys why I believe Ramirez have a good defense and why his chin, I'm not saying that it's overrated, but he doesn't get caught as clean to get hurt as maybe we might see in this fight, is because since he's so active with his lead hand, he's picking and poking and prodding and landing and throwing those powerful left hooks, that he's not throwing his whole body with his trail hand. So he doesn't really expose himself to get countered hard because the fighter is usually waiting for you to step in hard with your trail hand into the fire zone where you're going to exchange punches. So when he throws that trail hand is once he's done a lot of like picking and prodding, then he'll have the other fighter commit first. And when he sees that guy's trail hand go, he'll then basically counter, but he's not countering. He's just getting rid of his power punch, to top everything off that he's been doing with that trail hand. So that's why sometimes, even though he's a fighter that's coming forward, is not getting clipped that much, because he's not committing with the trail. He's only committing with his lead extended hand with that left hook and those picking and prodding jabs. And until the other guy commits first, it's a game of who commits first. Then he'll throw that lead punch, that right hand. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Interesting, very interesting. You think it's going to be that type of fight where these guys are going to end up really vying for position with the lead hand. Josh Taylor's got a good right hook to the body too, though. Let's not. By the way,
he has.
Stu King Bucho in the chat is saying, "Can we get Stu to stop hating on Ben Davison?" I'm trying to, Bucho, but Stu. I mean, he.
No, Stu, don't give in. Never give in to them.
Well, I'm not going to give in. I mean, what's this guy done for me? I mean, nearly. I'll tell you what. His biggest achievement is nearly getting Tyson Fury killed. I mean, what do you want from me?
Maybe.
I mean,
hey,
look,
listen.
My problem is if I could. Ben Davis is a good analyst on TV. He's a good analyst and he can break down fights. My problem is world-class fights, game plans for that. Coming up with preparing your fighter for a world championship fight, and I just don't think Ben Davis is that guy right now.
Listen. Speaking of great,
to convince me otherwise. Look, go back. It's on video. I come up with a game plan how to beat Deontay Wilder long before Deontay Wilder went to the Kronk. I told him. I told you on the video how to beat him, and it happened. Just how I said it would. So look, if I'm seeing it, and Ben Davison isn't, come on, man, it tells me everything I need to know.
Hey, by the way, shout out to
That's
Virtuoso.
why I've got so much respect for Sugar Hill. That's how I know Sugar Hill knows boxing. He saw it just like I did.
Real quick, shout out to Virtuoso for his contribution. He says basically Eddie Hearn went commando. Yes, he did. And he was wearing shorts. So if you're going commando wearing shorts, that's because you want people to see what you're packing, and that is completely disrespectful, in my opinion. But look, listen, when it comes to trainers, Josh Taylor's a smart fella too. He's got Ben Davison. I mean, is it possible that Ben Davison is becoming a little bit overhyped in the UK, perhaps? But I tell you what,
a little bit. It's the biggest hype job in world boxing.
I would not disagree with you on that one. But when it comes to Ramirez, I think he's got the perfect trainer for his style. Robert Garcia excels with these good pressure fighters, and so when it comes to the corner, that might make a difference when they step in there on May the 22nd.
I just think, when you get to the world elite, I just don't think trainers going to make too much difference in the end, because I think trainers, I think we overvalue trainers a little bit in boxing. I think we do. Some of them are good, especially for the up and coming fighters that want to learn. Obviously, you need trainers, but when you get to the elite level, there's only certain things these guys can do. Come up with certain game plans, and it's up to you to go with it, or polish up on a few things. You can't really do much. Look, Emmanuel Stewart's the best trainer that's ever lived for me, but yet we can do nothing with Prince Nassim Hamed. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? You could be the best trainer in the world. You've got to know what to do with the tools that you've got, and that's it, really. And a lot of trainers overcomplicate things. You've only got to listen to their instructions in the corner, fucking go rambling on for a minute. Fighters can't remember the first one you told them. Do you know what I mean? So, look, I think we overvalue trainers. When you get to that level, it's just, when you're in there with a world-class fight, it's time to start using your own initiative. And you sort of like deal with things as they come at you. You don't plan ahead for something that might not happen, sort of thing. Because you just got to, when you're in there, you sort of adapt and make adjustments. That's what you do. World-class fighters do. You can't be looking in your corner and say, what do I do next? That's not a world-class fighter.
Exactly, yeah. The trainer is there to, at the world-class level, the trainer is there to point out things that the fighter might not be seeing. But when it comes to operating the machinery, it's the fighter himself that says, okay, this is working, let me give it. And the trainer essentially will reflect back what he's seeing And that's why sometimes you hear trainers just go, yeah, you keep working that jab, baby. It's beautiful. Because they're just saying, okay, you're on the right track. And if they're not, they'll try to show him some things they could do. But at the end of the day, like you said, Stu, it's the fighters. They've got this, world-class fighters have good fight IQ. And they pretty much go on and make adjustments as they see fit as well. It's not just the trainers. And may I also say, when it comes to the Reynosos right now, hey, credit to them when it comes to they pulled it out with Ryan Garcia. They pulled off the upset with Valdez, and they're getting the credit. And if Ruiz looks good in that Mexican super fight against Chris Arreola, they're going to be getting even more credit. So,
yeah, of course.
But wait, let's see what happens a year from now or 2 years, because Robert Garcia was on fire too. And then little by little, Donaire lost, Rios lost. So, and then people start saying, oh, he sucks as a trainer. So that's what it always happens. If these guys are taking on the world-class fighters, eventually they will lose. And maybe even all at the same time. That doesn't mean the trainer sucks. Just like it doesn't mean just because a trainer has a couple of good wins here or there with his fighters, that he's the best trainer in the world. That's what I'm trying to convey here.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's a lot of trainers, fighters make sort of trainers into big names. When you see a lot, I mean, I know Freddie Roach was always a decent trainer, but Freddie Roach become like a celebrity because of the fighters that were picking him, sort of thing. They was already world class.
Stu dropped out, man. Hey, you know what? What I wanted to say real quick is I hated when they. Oh yeah, Stu, you're back. You were dropping off, man.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I'm just saying. A lot of trainers, they get a name off the fighters they've got. Really, I mean, look, Panama Lewis. I mean, apparently this guy couldn't even fucking wrap hands, but he was a good talker. He couldn't. I mean, look, his best training method was getting out that fucking Panama Lewis juice in that bottle he had that he gave to Aaron Pryor. I mean, that's the only thing that guy brought to the table. Absolutely fucking useless. But look at the fighters he had. That's what made. The same with Freddie. I think he got a lot of established world-class fighters. He did. To be fair, I think he did the best job with Manny out of all of them. So I think out of all the fighters he's had, I think Manny was the one he improved more than the rest.
Yeah.
But usually,
you gotta give him credit for what he did with Pacquiao. The thing, what the hell? The thing that I hated about what they were doing at some point with the fights was when they were announcing the trainers along with the fighters. So they're in the ring, and I remember, I think this happened with Pacquiao Marquez a couple of times. They go, and Manny Pacquiao standing in the red corner, Manny Pacquiao with his trainer Freddie Roach. I'm thinking, wait a minute, why are you announcing the trainers? That was the peak of trainer hysteria, celebrity trainer hysteria. Yeah, and they stopped it, but I mean, for a while there, I thought they were gonna keep it going.
And trainers get above their stations, and then they start coming up with game plans to make them look good instead of what's best for the fighter. If you get what I'm saying, it's all about them in the end. Look how many times trainers try to steal the show, and then they'll come up with a game plan that makes them look like they're a boxing genius. I hate that. I mean, to do the simple. That's what made Emmanuel Stewart good, because he got fighters and like Klitschko and Lewis, and did the simple things with them. What they're good at: the jab, straight right hand, and when they get close, hold them. Keep at distance. Certain things. Do you know what I mean? Just the basics. But they were already world class fighters, but he just polished up the tools, and that's what made him good. He didn't try to make things complicated. Start telling Lewis to start flying up with the Prince Nassim Hamid uppercut. I mean, come on, man. And this is what for me, trainers annoy me when they do that.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's why I enjoy the Emmanuel Stewart, because he was usually relaxed, but when he screamed at his fighters, you knew it was because it was necessary, right? Like when Klitschko would play with these guys instead of going for using his arsenal and saying, "Okay, take him out." Remember that when he was screaming at him like, you gotta knock this motherfucker," or he screamed at Jermaine Taylor too, who just never fucking really got it.
Screamed at Lennox Lewis.
Pacquiao, and I was gonna say just about 10 seconds ago. Sorry. Pacquiao and Freddie Roach, they had real good chemistry. Me as a boxing fan, when you see something, you're like, oh man, this kind of strikes a chord with me. Something endearing about the guy with Parkinson's, bringing out this like Filipino guy, and that you can appreciate that. I mean, there's like something special going on there. I got an opportunity to go to the walk card gym in Los Angeles, and even the one over here in the Philippines, and I got to see a lot of pictures about how these two guys related over the years in pictures. and I could see that there was like good friendship there, good chemistry.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
pretty
That was
cool.
a match made in
Yeah,
heaven
but the
for
thing
those
is,
guys.
like, that's my problem with Anthony Yard, right? Now, Anthony Yard, if he wants to be loyal, then that's fair enough. But to listen to this guy's game plans as well, I mean, this when you're at that level and you're hearing stuff that you know is not right and not going to work, then it's time to start using your own initiative. This is what I'm saying. Trainers can be a hindrance. And just because you've got a world-class trainer, it just might not click. Sort of things, I'm not saying Jundy's a fucking world-class trainer, because he's not. He's terrible. He shouldn't be in the corner. But if you're going to be loyal, then at least use his own initiative. But no, he's going by their game plan, and it's not working.
Now,
I was gonna say, yeah, sorry. With Canelo, there's something clicking over there with the Reynosos because they brought him up ever since he was a child. With Ramirez, I think he's from Michoacan, Mexico, and I think fucking what's this called? RGBA guy.
Robert Garcia.
Mikey Garcia's brother, Robert, he's also from that area. So, I mean, they built their rapport because they like each other. Maybe Ben Davison brings something of a pleasant feeling or like relationship. He might be friends with that with Taylor with the Tarzan Tornado that he's gonna make them show up on that night.
Yeah, you see, you get certain trainers that have a connection with the fight and it just gels. But these trainers, they train anyone else, it just doesn't work. Like even with Kawasaki and his dad, Enzo Kawasaki tried to train other people, just didn't happen. I mean, was Enzo a good trainer, or was Joe Kawasaki just a natural talent that anyone could train? My guess is the latter. And it's the same with a lot of trainers, especially with Floyd Mayweather Sr. I mean, all right, he taught Floyd how to fight and become that great, but he was never going to do that to Ricky Hatton when he took Ricky Hatton. Do you know what I mean? It's just certain trainers like that. They'll have a talent. Yeah, they'll have a talent. It'll gel, but they try with anyone else and it just doesn't work. That proves to me it's usually that it's the talent that they're dealing with, the natural talent.
Yeah, man, because sometimes you have trainers that, I mean, look, if you have a trainer that consistently can take, I've said this before, what makes a great trainer is when they can take a guy that doesn't seem special, right? He doesn't have world-class hand speed, power, whatever, and he can make the best out of him and get him either a title shot or an actual fucking title. That's a great trainer because he's taking a guy and making him the best that he can be. When you got mercenaries that get over hype or whatever, and then all the top fighters flock to them, eventually you end up seeing whether these trainers are the real deal or not. I will say that one thing that I did disliked, or I'm disliking from certain MMA trainers, because they're young, most of them. They don't have the lineage that a lot of these boxing trainers have. They tend to try to be too relaxed. I forget which fight it was in UFC. I was watching it. The guy's losing, and it's a third round, last round, and they go into the corner, or not the corner, but between rounds. He goes, "All right, I want to see the right hand this round. I like what I'm saying." I'm thinking, what do you mean you like what you're seeing? The guy's all busted up. He's almost got choked out twice, and you're telling him you like the right hand? It's like sometimes you do have to scream at a guy. Not all the time, like Teddy Atlas. I think he's a pretty overrated trainer. But sometimes you do gotta scream, and that's what Emmanuel Stewart knew to do. He says, "Listen, I'm gonna be calm here. But then if I see something and the guy just doesn't get it, I gotta shock him out of it." And being a trainer is difficult, man. It's not and like you said, that should Anthony Yard leave Tunde, whatever his name is? A lot of people said that Canelo should leave Mayweather. I mean, should leave the Reynosos after the Mayweather fight. I remember reading that. That was before my YouTube days, but I remember the message boards. People were saying, maybe he should split because they couldn't get him to adapt, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, look, the guy was 23, Canelo, who's fighting the best fighter in the world. I mean, what did you expect? I mean, I don't think having Emmanuel Stewart there was going to change much.
I think people are not getting my point in the chat. What I mean about when you get to the elite level of boxing, I just don't think trainers are going to make much difference when you're in there. That's my point. They'll come up with certain game plans, whether you listen to it or not, it's another matter. Is it at the lower levels, coming through from a kid, coming through the amateurs and the pro ranks? Of course, trainers mean a lot of difference. You got to learn the game. But when you get to this level, sort of thing, there's not a lot trainers can teach you or tell you. This is my point. I just don't think people understand that. I think we overvaluate trainers.
Have a great evening, you guys. Stuart,
look,
Mr. BDA,
and you, Gonzalo. You take care. Look, this is another
take care,
one.
Gonzalo. Take care.
This is another one. Gus D'Amato's, a legend in the sport. But how old was he when he got hold of Mike Tyson and turned Mike into what he was? I mean, yeah, he was like an old man. He'd been in boxing all them years. He'd never really brought anyone through like Mike Tyson and taught Mike Tyson before. That was just a once in a generation talent that he happened to be lucky to get his hands on. And he was obviously knowledgeable enough to know what to do with this kid. But
so Floyd Patterson and Jose Torres don't count?
Floyd Patterson was no Mike Tyson.
I'm saying he brought them from the beginning. He brought them from the beginning and took them to where they got to be. And he was the youngest world heavyweight champion ever until Mike Tyson. He was the first one to win the title back. That was due to custom.
What I'm saying is, though, we'll give you Floyd Patterson then. But how long after was Mike Tyson? So if this if he's this world-class,
it was definitely a minute.
But if he's this world-class trainer, why couldn't he do it with another 50 fighters? That's my point. If you good at something, you should be able to teach everyone how to do it. But no, what I'm saying is you have to have the talent on your hands to be able to bring these fighters through.
This is a very deep conversation that Stu's completely right about, and yet still there are counterpoints that are just as valid because we mentioned one thing earlier. It's just as much about the chemistry between the trainer and the fighter as it is if you have the talent either as a trainer or as the fighter. There's many different factors in this. You can't nail it down to just one situation. Say that's the way this case goes because this is boxing. It's worldwide. Personalities are different. Fighting styles are different. Approaches are different. And there's nothing you're saying that's wrong, Stu. Nothing at all. But there's still more factors in it than that. You see what I'm saying?
Of course, there's a lot more factors into it. You'd have to talk a couple of hours about this if you wanted to sort of like break it down properly. But look, my point is, you get chemistry with these trainers, these good fighters, but this chemistry is there because these fighters are good enough to know what the trainer wants and to perform it at a high level. This is why a lot of world-class fighters. This is why a lot of world-class fighters don't become good trainers because their standards are very high. And when got guys that just can't produce what they want, they get frustrated and end up falling out. Trust me, I know how it works. So that's where chemistry comes from. They've still got to have the talent. I can have when I got guys working for me, when they're doing what I ask, everything works properly, don't it? But if they've still got to be talented enough to do the job properly. I can't just get some guy off the street and ask him to do it.
Right?
Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. I fully understand what you're saying. Again, I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying because, like I said, this is such a deep subject that even though you're right on a lot of what you're saying, there's more to it than that, which you just acknowledged. It's a very deep subject because, I've trained fighters many times over. I haven't trained anybody you know of because I never made it to that level. I don't think they had that talent, but I didn't have the tools and the time or the backing to get anybody to that next level. And I ended up joining the military in a branch that didn't have a boxing team. So
the thing is, trainers can't teach grit, determination, toughness.
No, you're right about that. That all has to come from the fighter. What is it? Dwight Muhammad Kawi, his son said, "Can you teach me boxing?" He's like, "I can teach you to box, but you have to want to fight."
Exactly. Yeah, look at Julio Chavez Jr. He had the best tools available to him. Money, a top-ranked contract. They paid him to train, which is a reason why a lot of fighters don't become successful in boxing because they don't get a contract. They got to work a part-time and then train at the same time. And it's just this guy had all the advantages, and look at him. He didn't have the work ethic. Had a good chin, size. He was able to shrink to that big ass frame of his and fight smaller guys, but he just didn't have it. Even though he thought he won the Fanfare fight. Remember that he got stopped and he goes, "I thought I won the fight." But anyway, listen.
And there's certain fighters though that, first of all, the fighter should always get the credit because they're the one risking their life in the ring, regardless of the game plan that the person came up behind it. Mm-hmm. So I'll equate this over to football for a second. Some people say that Belichick was the brains and Brady was just the person that was out there on the field. And this past season, people started to change that. I think it's one and the same. I don't think Brady would be where he was without Belichick teaching him to get to a certain point. But after a certain point, Brady outgrew everything Belichick had to teach him. Floyd didn't need Roger in his corner to finish out that Zab Judah fight because he'd outgrown everything they taught him. They were just still there to make sure everything was okay. If the curveball threw in that he wasn't ready for, they were there to give him the advice of what to do if he couldn't improvise enough, which, as it turned out, he didn't need that anywhere in his career. But that's what they were there for.
Well, you know what? It's interesting, though, because, okay, let's take Manny Pacquiao, for example. This is the guy that people dream of, that trainers dream of, because you get a guy that not only does he have exceptional hand speed and power, the deadliest combination in boxing, but he also loves to fight. He's hungry. He's willing to train, so he's got a full tank of gas for 12 fucking rounds. That's it. So that's when I look at a guy like that, I go, you know what? I think if Joe Goosen would have gotten to Pacquiao, or if Pacquiao would have been introduced to him, Stewart or whatever, I think any of those top trainers would have taken him the route he did. He was a vessel for to become a boxer. You got a guy like Zab Judah, though. He had speed and power too, but there's just something about him. When you took it to him on the inside, he froze. And
a lot of that had to do with Yoel Judah blowing up his son's head bigger than it needed to be. He was good case in point and on point when the Duvas were training him. And I knew him as an amateur, and they were sponsoring him all the way through the amateur careers. I saw him fight USA versus Poland. You could see the Pernell Whitaker influence that they had him training with him, the way he'd backpedal and the way he'd shift around. And he had some moves of his own, some athleticism of his own. But they were the ones that got him where he was. They built that foundation. And then they, just like Fernando Vargas and Judah both fired the Duvas, went back to their old school trainers, and look what happened to them. They didn't make it as far as they should have.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, another example here is, that's good background, by the way, info. Kelly Pavlik, the middle of nowhere, Youngstown, Ohio, and I forgot his trainer's name, but you've never seen him again, because he even said he was a guy that used to work in paving, what you call it, like paving garage entrances for people's homes. I'm not putting it down, but I'm saying he had a part-time job, and then he found Kelly Pavlik, and even he said, "Look, listen, you'll probably never hear me again, because who am I going to get here in Youngstown, Ohio?" And once Pavlik retired, that was it for the guy. He's probably still training, you know, people at a local gym or whatever, but he's not in Vegas, he's not in LA, he's not in New York. There's no influx of talent coming through. So
right.
You can be the best trainer in the world, but if you don't have any fighters, and that's the other thing that I wanted to mention real quick. Trainers, people talk about fighters getting screwed and all that. Trainers get screwed, I don't know if the most, but they get just screwed just as much, man. Because you can have a great fighter in the making, and then as soon as he enters a contract with Top Rank or whatever, the promoters and the managers come in and go, you know what? This guy took you this far, but you know, maybe you should switch it up with this guy and that guy, and boom, trainer's left without a fighter. You know, he paid for the hotel rooms, the motel rooms, the trips to the Golden Gloves and all that, and then all of a sudden, boom, the fighter just leaves him. It's hard to become a trainer.
Ask Kevin Rooney about that.
What do you mean? What happened with him?
Well, so Stu brought the point of Customato. Now, why there were long lulls in between his championship reigns, I don't know the history of him very much, but I do know that he wasn't doing the training. He was doing the philosophy and the teaching. The people that were in the gym doing the legwork were Teddy Atlas and Kevin Rooney, and more Teddy Atlas than Kevin Rooney up until we know the history of what happened there. So they were doing the legwork and doing the physical stuff, getting Tyson to be doing the mitts, doing the running with him, doing the road work and stuff like that, because Customato couldn't do that. What Customato had was the experience and the knowledge and the wisdom to teach him how to not just be a fighter, but be a man. They were there doing the legwork. Kevin Rooney took Tyson through the pros, and then Don King came in and kind of swooped in, and because Kevin Rooney was getting a percentage, he was like, "Yeah, he's getting paid too much. We need to let him go. I've got another guy for you. We'll put in Aaron Snow or whatever that guy's name was." And they replaced Kevin Rooney, and he took Tyson from the amateurs into the pros to the world championship, and then they fired him. So yeah, it can happen just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the bitch of it, man. That's the onion in the ointment. We've got, by the way, Recognize and Uncle Pete dropping by on the Discord. Fellas, thank you for joining us. We're talking about Ramirez versus Taylor, but now we're into the question of trainers. Because again, Stu is not a fan of Ben Davison, who is now in Josh Taylor's corner. So, Recognize, you want to chime in about whatever you want, man. Just go ahead.
Yeah, I think I agree a little bit with Stu on this one because, look, I agree. Jay makes great points. I have experience in being trained. and the difference between somebody being sort of like an inspiration and then someone that can actually really train you. There could be a big difference. And Ben Davison seems like I'm not gonna say he's not a real trainer. I wouldn't say that, right? Because I'm not gonna knock his what he does for a living, right? But if it's anything to like with Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury's he's a great fighter. He's a great boxer. To anybody to ever make it that far, you there's something special about you. But it seemed like there was something missing there. They had too much of a friendship. And again, it's all up to the fighter. But it seems like when he's with somebody who's a little bit more serious and fits his style, like Sugar Hill, you obviously see the difference, right? I mean, what's the difference between the first fight and the second fight? Well, it was easy. Tyson Fury was more aggressive. That's the only difference between the first and the second fight. And we saw the results for itself. And I do believe that trainers have something. They can change the way you fight, your style, and it could hurt you in a big fight. The thing about Jose Ramirez, he's a real tough kid, and I still favor Taylor right now. I'm favoring him just a little bit, but he better, Davison better have him on the right mindset because he could lose that fucking fight. And ultimately, it comes down to the fighter, but he could lose that fight with the wrong game plan.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, right? Because, I mean, it is, look, listen, say what you want about Ramirez not looking all that great against Postal. That was against Postal. Ramirez is a world-class guy. Yeah, he's a world-class guy, comes forward, a big puncher. He can hurt you with one shot. I mean, he's not going to deck you with just one shot, but, I mean, he can hurt you. So, yeah, it would seem like it would be the worst example, the worst fight to go in there experimenting with a game plan that might or might not work. And, I mean, I don't know, right?
Fighting is, it's about momentum, right? If you come in there with the wrong, with the wrong game plan, and you can find yourself in a bad situation, depending on the fighter. Maybe Davison's game plan for Ramirez is the right game plan. I'm just saying he better come in with the right game plan because Ramirez is not the one to fuck around with. You lose that fight. He almost lost to Regis Prograis. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying Prograis can't beat in a rematch. He can't beat Taylor or this kid Ramirez. He definitely could. I'm not knocking Prograis, but the point is that he almost lost that fight.
Yeah, very close fight. I agree, man. I agree. This is the worst fight to come in there to try and experiment. Pete, you were gonna say something?
No, I just said you can come in the wrong costume too, and it's all over. But wasn't Jose Ramirez with Jose Ramirez with oh, was it poor Ortiz, man? Leave him alone. Wasn't Jose Ramirez with Freddie Roach at one time?
Yes.
Or did I just miss that?
Yeah, he was, and then he switched over to Robert Garcia, who's I think he's more attuned to Ramirez's style. By the way, somebody in the chat room is saying that was it Hardcore Marks or One Foot Out the Door that caused the matter was a weirdo. That's what Mike Tyson said in his autobiography. He said that the guy was a bit of a paranoid near the end of his life. I think he would like shut off the lights and stand by the window with a shotgun because he thought the mafia was going to come in there to shoot him up or something. Jay, you remember
that? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, Custom Auto. I love that guy.
That's probably down to previous dealings with the mafia. Probably paranoid about that.
There's no such thing as the mafia, man. Come on.
He's like
it was then
like Casino, like who's the fucking comedian that always rips on everybody?
Don Rickles. Yeah,
Don Rickles with the over and under shotgun. Remember?
Real Don Rickles over here.
Yeah. Hey, when Don Rickles gets beat up by Joe Pesci, man, just because he gave him a bad stare.
Don't get it. I don't give a fuck where you get it. Don't get it.
And then the music in the background. Ooh. Anyway, listen.
He's going to give you 10,000. Go get it. I don't give a fuck what you do. Get my money. That's what I do at the casino. It works.
This last one on the trainer bit. Look, it's very important to have a good trainer. You always need a second set of eyes in there.
Good chemistry works, man.
Someone's that's going to protect you from yourself as well, which is very important. So it does pay to have the right men in there, but I just think when you get to the elite level of boxing, a fighter should know straight away what the game plan should be. You shouldn't need some fitness instructor that's 23-year-old, whatever he is, telling you.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that. I think if it's laid out because they have a solid, if they think they don't even have to work together that long. Buddy McGirt and Arturo Gatti didn't work that long together, but they knew how to work together and they knew what each other were thinking. And if you have that chemistry there, you've worked it out in the gym. You've done all the drills. You've done all the training. You've watched all the tapes. You've pre-scripted as much as you can on a sport that is completely unscripted. Then Stu's completely right. It's all done in the gym. By the time you get in the ring, like BDA said, yeah, just keep popping that jab. Everything looks good, which means you're carrying out the game plan. It's like code. And if something goes wrong, like I said, if something that Judah would have done late in the fight when Roger was kicked out and Roger wasn't there, Floyd still knew what to do because he was on rapport. It was done in the gym. They did their research. The game plan was ready. This is like the 1% of boxers that can do that. Some fighters can't.
I think George Groves going to Paddy Fitzpatrick was probably the worst decision I've seen from a boxer in many moons. I mean, this guy he took Groves back 4 years, and luckily he managed to come back and win a title. But a couple of them defeats, I thought, he's to blame for me. And look, when George Groves' wife was actually saying after get rid of that guy, he's a fucking clown, he's useless, then something's not right. You know, when your own missus is telling you that guy does not know what the fuck he's talking about, he's a crap trainer, it's time he went. And I think that's what Groves said in one of his books. I think that was one of the reasons he got rid of him. But yeah,
how big of a story is he?
Look, Joe Gallagher as well. Joe Gallagher cost Scott Quigg a win against Frampton for me. I mean, like same old Joe Gallagher game plan. I hate to repeat myself. Lose the first 7, come in strong, and the last 5 hope to win on points. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? It even sounds ridiculous. But Joe Gallagher, dreadful trainer.
And by the way,
Callum Smith could have been so much better if he'd have gone somewhere else. This guy hinders fighters for me.
Real quick, man. Chris K, shout out. I forgot to read his super chat a while back. Chris K, shout out to Chris K for his contribution with the super chat. Yeah, he says Luis vs. Arreola, the purse will be a lifetime of tacos. Oh, well, if they pay them in tacos, they're gonna fight as hard as they can, man. That's good motivation right there.
You see the shape that fucking this kid is in, Ruiz. He's almost in the shape. Remember that picture that you used to put up there of him like fucking slim and built? He almost looks like that.
Nah, come on, he doesn't.
Yeah, but he's done that before, though.
I'm over exaggerating, but he's fucking in good shape. The kid is.
Let's look at the fact that the picture's from the above view, which always makes everybody look better when you have to reach up and look up. So let's keep that in perspective. If they pay those guys in tacos, some restaurants going bankrupt.
Yes,
I would take that deal.
It's gonna be like 2 whales eating fish. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, man. At the end of the day,
do you think his trainer has a bucket of sardines, like a bucket of, like they teach him? Hey, to what Jay was saying, it is the training camp that we don't see. I mean, I'm sure he could tell you this, but just from being screamed at by coach after coach in my life, I mean, screamed at like, you fucking idiot. I must say, in all seriousness, though, that it is really the prep. Yeah, it is the prep, you know what I'm saying? No, they weren't lying at all. But, the day of the game or the day of the match or whatever you want to say, that it is pretty much like the work
Uncle
is done.
P, you dumb jock. You dumb jock.
Stanis, you fucking idiot. You're going to get me fired. All right, bye, coach.
Hey, sorry, Pete.
In the box and he used to get on that phone. You ever see the telephones on the sidelines?
What world do you come from, Pete?
Pete, would your coaches...
It's not Ivan Sanchez, isn't it?
You're going to get me fired.
This guy was one of the best trainers in boxing a few years ago. Just go back and look some of the instructions this guy's given the corner recently. Just dreadful. You know what I mean? Gassiev. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing from that guy. I mean, who was the guy that came to England, got knocked the fuck out, and his instructions to him, a young American unbeaten guy. I can't remember who he fought now, but anyway, he came over, got beat up, and Abel Sanchez was in the corner, giving him terrible instructions, and I've seen it time and time again. So,
you know what? You bring up a good point.
I think we overhype some of these trainers because they fall on their feet when a world class trainer might walk in their gym one day, and just because the world class trainers and world class fighters with a trainer doesn't mean the trainer's world class.
Exactly. Abel Sanchez is a classic example that you used, reminded me of a guy who, because he'd been around since the 80s. I mean, he trained Terry Norris and Lupe Aquino and I forget who, a couple of other fighters. But for a while there, he seemed to disappear. People forgot about him. Then he got his hands around Triple G. And all of a sudden, all these Eastern European fighters started to gravitate towards him. And it seemed, I don't know, I could be wrong. You guys tell me. But it seemed like it got a little bit to his head. The way he would act in interviews, and he would speak for Golovkin, and even Canelo had to tell. And this is me disliking Canelo's character, but I liked it when he told Sanchez in one of the press conferences, like, "Well, you keep talking for your fighter, though. You know, you shut up. You know." And it's true. I mean, Sanchez, I don't know. He started to get a little bit of an attitude, a little bit. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those trainers that are very vocal. Especially if he's got somebody. He wasn't like that. He wasn't too much like that with Terry Norris. But at least with Triple G, he was starting to become a little too talkative for my liking.
How long was he with Terry Norris? I don't remember.
He was with Terry Norris for definitely at least 5 years.
Okay.
Or more.
I like in the corner where he would really pepper Triple G with instructions, and Triple G would just nod his head like. Yeah, I want it here. Yeah. I want it here. And he put his hand in his chest, like, no, get off the line. And then Triple G was just nodding his head, like, exactly. Yes. I love Bucks.
I think Abel Sanchez, I really do believe Abel Sanchez took probably 3 years off Golovkin's prime with them camps.
The Big Bear.
Pushing him too hard and in training?
Yeah, Big Bear. I'm going to try and run around Big Bear. I mean, I haven't been there, but I can imagine. I've been at high altitude before, and it's horrible.
Yeah, high altitude workouts are not for everybody, man. They're not for everybody.
Well, it's not just that. You push too hard in your prime when your body's young and can overcome it, but then when you get older, just like Stu said, you get old a little too quickly because you just put your body. You know, the body's meant to regenerate, the body's meant to heal, but the body's also meant to break down. And recognize, I've talked about this. There's a certainty in life. Yes. Everybody does die, and they die when their body's broken down. Times push it too far?
That's right.
How many times do you watch Golovkin where you feel like he's left half of it in the gym? He looks dead at the weight.
There has been certain instances. I know what you're talking about. I've seen him beat the shit out of guys, and he looks a little winded. It's like, okay. That could happen when you're working the shit out of somebody. You can get a little bit winded, but at times I've said to myself, that's also a sign of a guy who's working extremely hard in the gym. Don't get me wrong; he could finish. If he had to go 12 rounds, he could definitely finish. But if you're being winded while you're kicking ass, then there's
exactly, and that's the problem. And I thought that was a problem with Jacobs a little bit, where that's why it was close because. He a few of his fights where he's just looking a bit winded. That's why he's not as busy as he used to be. And I feel like he's left half of it in the gym. Even Kell Brook, man, he looked dead at the weight that day, man. He just looked terrible. You know what I mean? And then he was getting pieced up for a while, wasn't he, in that one? So,
Sanchez, it seems like we've got a pattern here because we've got Golovkin, who probably you have to tell to stay out of the gym because he likes to work out so much. And Terry Norris is the same way. Yep. And when his first fighter is Terry Norris and he moves on to Golovkin, and Golovkin has the same work ethic, there's something about a trainer that's supposed to know, just like in the movie Bleed for This, when Kevin Rooney looked at Vinny Pezzi and said, "Stop, you've done enough. You don't need to go all out. You should be refreshed at this time, not exhausted leaving the gym this close to a fight." These weren't his exact words.
That's what philosophy in boxing works.
Yeah.
Philosophy in boxing, it does work because if you got the trainer that understands not only the technique, because technique is very important, but the mindset, the ideology of boxing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you have to be smart. You have to understand when situations. Situations is the best thing, and if you see that your guy's working a little too hard, yeah, maybe somebody needs to step in and say, that could show up in the fight, bro. Like, that can show up in a 12-round fight. So you need to, and explain to him what is it that you see, so that way he understands as well.
And then, but like I said, to wrap up this point though, is the fact that when your first fighter is Terry Norris, who worked out so hard that at 154 pounds he could bench 310.
That's pretty hard. That's pretty hard.
You're working out too hard when it's like that, and you may be powerful and you may be strong and you may be one hell of an athlete, but you're working out too hard if you're weighing in at 154 and you're benching 300 pounds. There's other areas you should be focusing on than that. To make sure that you're well-rounded.
And that's what I meant by taking years off its prime.
Yep, I fully agree with you, Stu. Completely agree with you on this one.
And it's like, for even being in the ring, you've got, as you age, you have to consume energy. You've got to fight in the right moments. You can't be rushing around, buzzing around like Pacquiao. This is the problem with Pacquiao. He still thinks he's that young guy that can buzz around like a wasp, and he's not.
He's a different ball game, Stu, because he's an instinct fighter. That's Pacquiao at his core. He's very instinct. There's nothing.
But what I'm saying with Pacquiao. But what I'm saying with Pacquiao's still fighting like he's a young man.
He does. He does. Yeah, he's going to go out that way too. He's going to go out on the shield.
Of course he is. And my problem is, as you get older, you have to start fighting in a style that's going to consume energy. You've got to fight and burst, pick your moments at the right times. You can't be just blowing your tank early, and like the way Canelo fights. I mean, I hate to keep mentioning Canelo, but the way he fights, he doesn't really use a lot of energy. And when he does go and burst, he throws in combinations and then have another breather. And so that's sort of like an old schooled fighter's way of fighting, I think. That's the way the old guys would fight.
Yeah.
So, that's how you got to get smart as you get older.
Yeah, you got to force Canelo to fight. He gets winded. That's what you got to do. You got to force him to, hit him with shots that are going to hurt him, make him work, and he's gonna start breathing different. You can't just have him relaxing. Picking his shots, he'll fucking murder you.
But with Canelo, Canelo's not stupid. He knows his tank is probably his weakest link, so he consumes the energy and fights in bursts. You never see Canelo go toe to toe.
You get older, and you put on muscles. That's one of the things that start leaving. It's your tank, right? You could do that in anything. You could do that in just like sports. And if you're somebody that's putting on, you're putting on some muscle weight. You gotta approach what you're doing as good as it was when you were lighter and younger.
So if you notice, most of the bodybuilders that are always been in their primes at their peaks aren't in their early 20s. They're usually in their early to mid, sometimes even late 30s. So the testosterone pumps a different way. And Jimmy knows more about this. He's not on right now, but he knows more about this than I do. But there's a pattern there for a reason. So Triple G also, but Canelo's 30 right now, and he's thicker now than he's ever been. And he just like what we're talking about, now we're going to have to change the training aspects, because putting muscle on, lean muscle, which takes more oxygen, is going to be easy to do. So they're going to have to augment their training methods to make sure that his body isn't going to work against itself.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. That's
lighter than me.
But that's an excellent point of how
I'm just saying, no, for real. I'm not joking. Seriously.
Oh, okay. I thought you were kidding. By the way,
I'm just saying, like the first Triple G fight, he was pretty fucking yoked up, and then you saw him the second one, he came in a little leaner.
Well,
I don't know what the weight was, because he doesn't weigh in the night of. But anyway,
he didn't eat as much tainted meat in the second fight.
Exactly. Yeah, he cut
Watch
back
it, buddy.
on that.
Watch it.
Hey, by the way, let's take a phone call real quick, man. Let's take a phone call. Hold on, fellas. Let's take a phone call real quick. We got a phone call. 773. You're on the air. 773. What's on your mind?
Yo, acting like this Josh Taylor versus Ramirez fight is a pound for pound, 2 pound for pound level fighters. Listen, Ramirez lost to Posto his last fight. He looked like
he did it.
He got a gift decision. He got outboxed. And Josh Taylor, his eye was a balloon. He looked like a freaking Halloween character. He looked like something out of the Goonies in that fight against Prograis. So
yeah, he did get fucked up a little bit. I agree with that.
They got a couple of belts, but they hand out belts in boxing. So this isn't some
Lots of fucking headbutt, man. Let me headbutt you in the eye. Let me headbutt you in the fucking eye. See what happens, man. Fucking headbutt, man.
You guys are overrating this fight. I guarantee.
Wait. Kevin.
Near future.
So
Kevin,
the undisputed
is it not a good
championship
fight?
is an overrated fight.
That's an overrated fight for you, Kevin. 2 guys with all the belts.
So the fight to make one king in a single division is an overrated
pound
fight.
for pound level fight. The pound for pound level fighter, top 10 fighter, this and that.
Okay, one of them. If one of them wins,
top 10 pound for pound.
You're a troll, Kev.
Kevin. If one of them wins, you don't. I mean, with today's pound for pound landscape, you wouldn't put him somewhere in there. Is that what you're saying?
Nope, neither one of them.
All right, let's hear
you got
your
10 guys that are. You got 10 guys that are better.
Yeah, let's hear your pound for pound list, man. Come on, let's go, Kevin. Let's hear it.
Look at Josh Taylor, his big one. What is it? Baranchik and Postal. You saw
and Prograis.
He just got flatlined.
Look, just answer the fucking question. Answer the fucking question. Listen, I'm sick of this fucking crap. Answer the question.
No. Let's go to this. Kevin, you can answer the question. Give us your pound for pound top 10 list. You don't have one, do you?
No 10
off the top of my head.
There you go. You don't have a pound for pound list.
He wasn't ready for that.
No, listen, it was a question a little, like.
Recognize. Stop defending this clown. Recognize. Come on, man.
Well, wait. No, okay. Here's where I disagree with him. I really doubt that you can say with conviction there's 10 guys better.
I put Bivol. I put Usyk. I put Lopez. I put Canelo. There's a bunch of other guys, and I don't even think Taylor may be even the top 20.
Come on. All right, now you're trolling.
You look at Taylor, his big win was against Baranchik.
You're going at...
Shut up, Kev. You're fucking boring. You're boring me.
Baranchik just got flatlined.
Yes, and what?
That was his other big
so
win.
what? Taylor softened him up.
Little Prograis, the little guy Prograis lit him up.
Yeah, hey, get this clown out of here, please, BDA.
Well, I'm telling you. Well, come on. It's just all in fun, guys.
Listen, Kevin.
But is it fun anymore? Honestly, is this guy funny? He's not funny. He's just he comes on here to play the devil's advocate. Look, he's trying to tell me nothing about Josh Taylor. It's nothing about Josh Taylor. This guy's coming on here saying this is basically an overhyped fight. Then he starts talking about Taylor's resume like it's a piece of shit. Then we asked him to name his 10 pound for pound list. And look, Recognize can say what he wants about he was put on the spot and all that. But I could name 10 fights quite easily now if I wanted to. So, what's the problem? If he knows his boxing, 10 fights should be hard for him. No, man, I'm not having it.
Hey, Kevin, which fight? Let me ask Kevin something. I want to ask Kevin something. Kevin, are you more excited? Is this, so you're saying this fight's not good. Is Joe Smith versus Vlasov a bigger fight?
Is it bigger in terms of star power? No. It's not bigger in terms of pay-per-view buys, but it's a fight that I would be more interested in, more exciting. I think it'd be a bigger show. Oh, no, not Vlasov. I meant Beterbiev. Beterbiev.
Okay, well, listen. Most boxing fans worth their salt will agree that this Taylor Ramirez fight is for all the marbles, even though I already think Josh Taylor is already the best because by virtue of his win over Prograis. But look, it's about as good a fight as it can get. I think your problem with this whole thing is it's the title of the video, because I said boxing is dead, and I think maybe you're one of those people that thinks boxing is dead. So this type of fight, you got to downplay it a little bit so that it reflects your worldview that boxing is indeed dead.
No. My point is they're overrating these fighters. Ramirez, he lost his last fight. That's just a fact. I watched that fight.
Can you tell me? No, but I want to know your standards. Kevin, sorry for interrupting.
He got out.
I want to know your standards, though.
He got out jabbed.
No.
He got out ring controlled. He lost that fight. God. Postal beat Ramirez. That's a fact.
All right, but wait a minute.
Stu as far as Josh Taylor goes, Josh Taylor, he didn't look too good in that fight either.
Kevin.
He didn't look good against Prograis either.
Stu has a question for you. Stu has a
Progrades are fucking.
Hey, Kevin, I gotta tell you something. Kevin, you can't fill it. Kevin, look, you can't. We let you talk, but sometimes you go on for too long. Stu has a question for you. Stu, go ahead.
I want to know what your standards are for a good fighter. I want to know who's a good fighter, what's a good fight, because you don't have anything good to say about anyone. Any fight, I've not really heard you
want to know good
praise anyone. So just tell me what the standards are for you. Who's your favourite fighter? Who do you think is the top fighter of the world? I just want to know.
I like fighters that are coming off dominant, impressive wins. Impressive showings.
Like who?
I like seeing fighters you're coming off a
Brian
dominant
Nielsen
win,
came off of 40-something impressive dominant wins over tomato cans. So what's your standard?
You got to give us some names. You got to be a like Joseph McCarthy. Names. We want names.
Listen, this is called the boxing debate arena, right? You come on here and you have to back up what you're saying. You just spout nonsense, sound bites. You just spout sound bites. You can't back up nothing. We're asking you questions. Answer the fucking question.
That's a fucking question.
Limey dude. Come on, you limey Brit. I just answered it.
We didn't hear
Listen
you.
Listen here, you fucking Polak. Shut the
fuck
up.
Okay. You know what?
One word answer. Look, Kevin, one word answer. Who's the best fighter?
Kevin, do you hang out with Jason Bourne?
Don't say Fonfara. Don't say Fonfara or Shkoka either.
Come on, you Angloid head. I just answered the question.
We didn't hear the answer. You said.
What was it? We didn't get it. We didn't catch it. What was it, Kev? Go ahead.
You said what's your criteria for a
We want a name. We want an example. A name of a boxer.
I said Charlo. I said
Charlo,
he's a fighter who's coming off an impressive win over Derevyanchenko. I'd like to see him versus Canelo, who's coming off another impressive win. That's a fight right there. That's a mega fight.
Oh, hang on a minute. An impressive win now, is it? But I thought it was a British bum.
Oh,
whoa! No, his last fight was against the guy who lost his last fight.
Oh, what years ago. Talking about? You can't be talking about Yildirim. You definitely not talking about Yildirim being an impressive win. I mean, this is where we know the call is a fucking troll. Canelo's coming off an impressive win against Yildirim. I mean, if anything, Eubank Jr. did it in quicker and more devastating fashion. If you want to get technical here, and I'm a Canelo fan. Look, talking nonsense.
Listen.
You called Callum Smith. You rang in and called Callum Smith a bum. Yeah, and all of a sudden you're talking about this great form Canelo's in, and it can't be both ways. So who do you like? I mean, look, forget Canelo. You talk shit about Canelo all the time. Forget Canelo. Who do you like? So just Charlo. Is that the only guy you like?
Charlo, yeah.
We already know who he likes. He likes Joe Smith. He likes Beterbiev. He likes Bivol, Usyk.
From far.
And apparently he likes Charlo.
What has fucking Bivol done that Josh Taylor hasn't?
I just said
what has Bivol done that Josh Taylor hasn't?
Or not?
Hey, by the way, didn't you have... correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't have Derevyanchenko beating Charlo, right?
No, I thought Derevyanchenko was going to beat him, so that impressed me even more.
Oh, okay.
About Charlo.
Well, listen, it wasn't really impressive seeing the older, shorter guy manhandling Charlo in the last 2-3 rounds. I mean, that was a little bit... I didn't think... And by the way, let's not forget, Charlo got out of the box by a late replacement in Koborov.
Korobov, man.
Korobov, yeah. So he
got left hand. I thought you were going to say 54 Charlo.
He redeemed himself.
Okay.
Kevin, the thing is, though, when you come on here to spout shit, you better remember what you're saying, because we don't forget. You come on here like half the time, fucking drinking that cheap Russian vodka that you drink.
Come on.
We got you.
We got you. Hey, Kevin, we got you.
And you forget what you're saying, bro. And then you sit there and you'll talk shit about a fighter, and then when it helps you next week in an argument, you'll bring him up and use his name, sort of thing. You're a fucking clown, bro. Honestly.
All right. Well, listen. This is getting.
I said, listen. I got my final point. My final point right here.
Go ahead.
All I said was people are overrating these fighters. They act like Ramirez and Taylor are these great pound-for-pound level fighters. They're not. Yeah, they have belts, but this isn't some world-class unification Canelo versus Triple G type of fight. This isn't.
That's exactly what this is. The fight. It's the very definition of one.
Yeah, I mean, both guys got 2 straps, I believe, right?
But hold on, can I say something?
Yeah, there's more belts in this fight.
I want to interject because I think what Kevin's point is that he definitely thinks Canelo and Triple G are much better than these two guys, and I think because
that's not a fair comparison. Right?
I know,
that's
but his argument is, look, Taylor struggled with this guy, Ramirez struggled with that guy, therefore these guys are not as good as
Have you looked at Taylor's last 5 opponents?
I know, but what I'm saying is
that record is insane.
Look, it's his opinion that these two guys aren't as good. So we're not going to convince him, even though, like I said earlier, you can dissect anybody's resume and say, oh, this guy, he didn't win this fight, or he looked awful in that fight, therefore he's not that good. But at the end of the day, Kevin, these two guys are fighting, and whoever wins is going to add another big name to the resume. So it's undeniable that the winner does become pound for pound. Top 5 if you already have them in there.
Appreciate this fight. Yeah, if you can't appreciate this fight, you're not a boxing fan, man. And we can't ask for no more at 140 than Ramirez v Taylor. It's the fight all true boxing fans want. You come on here, just playing the devil's advocate. You're just playing to this agenda that you've got, and it's just tiring now. Corny as fuck.
Well, hold on. Kevin's not playing devil's advocate. He's just playing the devil. That's all. That's what he's doing straight up.
Yeah, well.
Anyway,
Look,
Kevin,
drinking that vodka will turn you into the devil, especially that cheap shit. But listen, this guy, you know, when he calls in and talks bad about this fight, when we've seen some of the fights that have been made recently, to talk bad about this one, he can't be a boxing fan to me. He just can't be.
Well, listen, Kevin, I appreciate your panache, but we do have to move on. So take it easy out there, and like Stu says, take it easy on the alcohol, especially if you're driving.
The sauce. Yeah, the sauce.
Yeah, the sauce.
Yeah, man, you're becoming a degenerate drunk.
I wonder if Kevin from Chicago hangs out with Jason Bourne.
I don't think they're both from Chicago, though, so I don't think they...
Yeah, you might right.
Jason Bourne's from Krakow.
Krakow?
That's where he's from. He's from Krakow in Poland, mate. That's where he's living right now.
When you guys asked for Kevin's pound-for-pound list, I was going to say...
The BBA headquarters refused to keep him employed, so he's been deported back to Poland.
Come on. Now, wait a minute. Now, we're not going to go there. Pete had a good one. Go ahead, Pete.
No, I just thought when you guys asked for his pound-for-pound and pressed him, I thought I was going to say Edison Usanda, Jorge Masvidal, a bunch of MMA guys. So
yeah,
at least he gets
Konaki, it'll be
Konaki, yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Kevin's been pissed off with boxing since Fanfara fell off. That was it. I mean, it is what it is.
If I agree. If somebody's trying to say this is like the fucking greatest fight in the world,
it's a good match.
You know, I would say you're over exaggerating, right?
Exactly.
But this is a good fight. I mean, you got two guys essentially been fighting all the top guys at that weight class, right? Whether you think they're great or not, they are the top guys in that weight class. And so they came out on top. So that's what I want. I want the two guys. And then there's a missing piece. There's like this pro-grade guy just lurking around who could have beaten Josh Taylor, right? That fight was that close. Now, if you had Taylor
he had the cheek to discredit Prograis as a fighter. I mean, Prograis is a terrific fighter. I mean, what is he looking at? Look, he knows what he's saying is bullshit. He just comes on here to try and get a laugh, and it's just tiring. It's one of them where the joke's boring now. It's just boring, man. Change the fucking record, will you?
Well, you know what? I'm actually surprised. I'm actually surprised he didn't somehow manage to slip the juice in there about the fight. You know, because that's what he always does, man. He always somehow. I mean, I don't know, but listen, Kevin, I understood what he said.
With him, I'm surprised he's not got a place now, Auschwitz or somewhere, where he just goes to remind himself twice a year or something.
Rabbi Aram's bringing you the 50-50 fight.
I'm just hoping he's not on the ADL's list. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he probably is. Yeah.
I have a quick question because I'm the newest one in the forum. Is this guy a regular caller?
Yes, he is.
Kevin and Stu don't get along. I like Kevin. Kevin could be too stuck on his point of view, in my opinion, but he's all right.
Too optimistic. Too optimistic. No, Kevin's big call, his big entry, his step up fight was his step up call was after the T.O. Loma fight. If you guys remember, it was a doozy. So he's got the right to his opinion.
Of course, yeah. Hey, look, this is America. I mean, our servers are in America, so technically this show is American.
North America. Yeah, North America.
North America, yeah, sure, why not? So I mean, he's
and
got
even
the
if
right
you
to.
weren't, and even if you weren't, you're a human being, and you goddamn it, you have the right to say whatever you want to say.
Exactly. No matter how abhorrent it might be, you got the right to say it. Now, but I do agree. I think Recognize too also got what Kevin was trying to say. That we're not saying that this is the biggest fight ever in boxing, but look, if it wasn't happening, then we'd get Kevin complaining. Oh, you see, boxing, they never make the big fights. This is the big fight of the division. It's say what you want about whether one guy lost or not.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, look, I can understand if it was just too like Brandon Rios Alvarado sort of level, but this is the best it gets at 140. And for me, 140 division has been an exciting division since Terence Crawford left. I hate to say, when Terence was there, it was dreadful. But,
don't get Jay started.
It's become a really exciting division. That tournament, the World Boxing Super Series, really helped. I mean, we had some great fights there, didn't we? Baranchik, Taylor Prograis as well, and then there was I thought Prograis versus.
Stu, too bad. Too bad. Too bad. Terence Crawford couldn't fucking keep making 140. Right, this would have been a hell of a division.
I mean, I think Crawford just couldn't make the weight in the end. He was just getting too big, weren't he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a shame. I still think Crawford would have won that tournament. I mean,
I would have gave him the favorite. Yeah, I agree with you.
I still think he probably would have won that. But look, he didn't take it. He didn't take the. I don't think it was because he ducked the tournament. I just don't think he could get that.
I don't think he could make the weight no more. Yeah, I think he was like, that's it. Going down to 140 when I'm fucking $170.
I mean, he's a big guy at 147, isn't he?
Yep.
Hey, speaking of 147, because I think we've talked enough about this. Ramirez, Taylor, Pacquiao versus Garcia is the one that they're talking about now, and some people are saying it might not even happen, that it's just rumored, blah blah blah. But what do you guys think for Pacquiao, who's done it all at this point? Is this something that you wanted to see from him, or
not really? Look. Reality is Pacquiao could show up and be outworked at the age of 40 plus by a guy like Mikey Garcia. I mean, Mikey Garcia is such a negative fighter, but who knows Pacquiao, at 42, 43 years old, whatever age he is, that could show up in a fight, and I would hate for him to lose to fucking Mikey Garcia. I wouldn't have a problem with him losing to, like, let's say, Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Terence Crawford. I mean, those are the top guys at that weight class. For me, at least, they're the top guys at that weight class. Losing to one of them is more honorable. I'm not saying that I think Pacquiao's going to lose this fight. I will pick him to win, but you never know when you're 42 years old.
If Pacquiao loses this fight,
who are you picking him to beat? Recognize?
No, I'm picking Pacquiao, but I'm just saying, like, what if he shows up and he's 42?
Against who? That's the question.
Yeah, I would think that more likely the three guys that come to mind that I could see him losing to at that weight class is Sean Porter, Errol Spence, and Terence Crawford.
And by the way, Stu, the fight we're talking about is Pacquiao-Garcia. Pacquiao versus Mikey Garcia, because they're talking
we're talking about Pacquiao. Yeah.
Oh, I'm Pacquiao's favourite in that one for me. I'd like to see Pacquiao. I think he's deserved one big fight, one big payday against someone like Crawford or Spence, and then I'd like to see him retire. I don't think he's got nothing else to prove at this weight, and this is the Divas division. These guys are going to wait around till Pacquiao's fucking limping in like Sergio Martinez did against Chavez. Do you know what I mean? Not Chavez, Cotto. Sorry,
Cotto.
The way he came in with braces on his fucking legs. I mean, that's what it's going to be like with Pacquiao. These guys just waiting around for him to get too old. So I'd like to see Pacquiao just get one fight and take his money and sail off into the sunset.
The thing about Mikey Garcia is he's a very good fighter. The thing is, though, he's so good with his defense at parrying shots that what he likes to do is he likes to throw two shots at a time, parry what the other guy does, wait a while, and then throw another one to drop the guy a couple of times, and that's how he cruises to a decision. You saw what happens against Errol Spence. He couldn't outbox Errol Spence, and he didn't even seem willing to try to go out there and go all out and try to catch the guy with a big shot. So I think against Pacquiao, even this old version of Pacquiao, he's not going to be able to parry all the shots, I don't think. I'd be very surprised if he can.
No, I don't think so. I'm with you on that one, BDA. I think he beats him, but I'm just thinking, like, you never know with a 40-year-old fighter. He hasn't fought in over a year. He's almost going on 2 years without a fight. So you never know when age shows up. I pick him to beat him all day, but I would hate to see like Manny Pacquiao shows up his age and the fucking guy that ends up winning, like a close decision is fucking
would be Father Time.
Garcia with his big cake hole will talk himself into a big fight again. He will talk himself into a fight with Crawford and stink the fucking joint out again.
Stink the joint out, yeah.
And going to pretend to be someone from fucking Hill Street Blues. I mean, that's what. Look, I've had enough of Garcia talking his way into fights and not producing the goods.
Stu, imagine if he went in there.
But he wins instead.
Imagine he went in there and let's say like his warm-up fight was, a fight to break the inactivity was against Sean Porter. Now Sean Porter might be a little too much at this point, but if Sean Porter outworked him and won a decision and beats Manny Pacquiao, that's a guy that's going to stay active. Now he's got a belt. He's got Manny Pacquiao under his belt, and he will fight Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford. He already fought Errol Spence. He'll fight the top guys. He doesn't have a problem with that. Where Mikey Garcia, God forbid, if he was to win a decision over Manny Pacquiao, even if it's a bullshit one, he's
Pacquiao and Porter. Pacquiao and Porter, the only guys really that you can say that will fight anyone and go to win in that division. I mean, apart from like Crawford and Spence, because they've not really fought the guys that we'd like to see them fight each other for a start. So, Broner, fucking Pacquiao, he'll fight anyone and he comes to win, and that's all you can ask. Porter's another one. I think Porter's been robbed a couple of times, but he comes to win, and I just don't get that feeling when I see Broner in there, when I see Danny Garcia in there, Mikey Garcia.
Yes, those are negative fighters. They're kind of negative.
Yeah.
Good matchup for Pacquiao.
For Crawford and Spence, they're the only two I really want to see them guys in with right now. If it's not each other, then Pacquiao or the other one. I was just talking about.
That's the thing, though. They're gonna try to make Spence off of Pacquiao. I don't want to see that either, which I think is what Recognize is saying. Like, not trying to have Pacquiao get sped up to somebody. But I must say this: in terms of all the choices, Porter probably deserves the fight. Okay, but Mikey Garcia is his best for Pacquiao. I mean, honestly, and age can't catch up to you, but I don't know. I said the same thing against Broner. Pacquiao won clearly, obviously. I didn't so much like what I saw in that Broner fight in terms of Pacquiao losing a step, and I was a little concerned going into that Thurman fight. Like that, I just didn't like. I didn't want to see him try to build Thurman off of Pacquiao. I don't want to try to make Thurman off of Pacquiao. But none of these fighters deserve to be made off of Pacquiao right now. Okay, I think Spence and Crawford are just a little too big for Pacquiao. I mean, this ain't Margarito days. We're not trying to go through that again.
90 seconds.
They've almost traded weights. I mean, goddamn, Mikey's almost a goddamn 140 that doesn't want to lose the weight, and Pacquiao's a damn 35-pounder now. I mean, in other words,
for Pacquiao at this point.
Yeah, for that, I understand why they would do it. They do it to make their name off of Pacquiao, but I think he'll beat Mikey Garcia. I just don't think Mikey can even hang with his footwork wise. I don't think you can see him.
And BDA made a great point. He's a counter puncher. He kind of waits. He's almost like a low version of
Marquez.
Yeah.
He's a high version of Broner. He's like a not in their styles, but
his
footwork's about the same.
I will say
he's way better, but he's way better. But footwork wise, they both just wait. Broner tried to throw a counter right hand all fucking night, and Pacquiao knows that's going to happen. It's just not going to happen if he knows it's coming.
So I think a little differently of this entire welterweight division than most people. Obviously, with the exception of Spence and Crawford being who they are, I agree with everybody on that one. I do not think that there was any reason for Pacquiao to ever be scared of Keith Thurman, because at the world-class level, he has shown no knockout whirlwind power that he did on the way up. He has not. He still hasn't. Sean Porter's record is below 50% on KO power. He's a Troy Dorsey. He can throw big winging shots that look great, but nobody gets hurt, nobody goes down unless you're. I'll put it this way. I'm going to say unless you're anything. Julio Diaz was a lightweight with a shaky chin, and he was shot when he fought Sean Porter, and they went 20 rounds together. That's all I need to know about Sean Porter's power. Yes, he brings it, and he's tough, and I'm not discrediting that. But unless 42 years old, Father Time is undefeated, and he comes knocking on Manny's door, I see him beating Sean Porter, and I see him beating Mikey Garcia and Danny Garcia. I see him beating everybody relatively easily, meaning a clear 7-5 minimum, who's not Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence.
I agree with Danny Garcia too, by the way. I'm not saying that I don't agree, but the matchup between, let's say, a Pacquiao and Sean Porter would be fucking. That shit would be beautiful. I mean,
it would be rough. It would be rough.
These two guys.
It'd be rough, and you know what, Jay, you're right. You're right, Jay, about the power. Now you're right about that. Now I don't think Porter's got the power or the range control.
He was stinging Errol Spence. You go look at that
Spence
fight.
was right there to be hit, though. That's the thing. He was right there to be hit. And, Porter smothers himself so goddamn much that's his problem, is he doesn't really...
He did some beautiful work in the middle of the ring, man, against...
when you stand in a phone booth with him, yeah.
Spence.
When you stand in a phone booth with him, yeah, he will tee off on you. But even then, you've seen him... He was smothering himself, and he's relentless. That's the thing about Sean Porter, he's relentless.
He's
relentless, and I just don't think
that let him be relentless.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying he's going to come forward even when he shouldn't. Even when he shouldn't smother himself, he smothers himself, right? Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, Spence just hunkered down. Spence hunkered down and just stood his fucking ground, and they just stood in the middle of the ring.
He brought out the best out of Spence. He brought the best out of him.
Hey, real quick,
which makes me question it. So here's the thing: Spence was on people's pound for pound list before he even won a freaking title, and I don't dislike Spence, but I'm not on board with everybody else because I want to know what he was made of. Now, he showed stuff against Sean Porter that showed how tough he was and everything else. But again, Sean Porter in any other welterweight division wouldn't have won a belt twice in the history of the welterweight division, except for this one. I don't think he would have beaten Marlon Starling, Simon Brown, or any of those guys. He would have given them great fights. I don't think he beats them. He won vacant titles, and he lost to anybody who was a real welterweight.
But look,
and
I'm
not. And then they may have been tough fights. They may have been tough fights, but he lost.
I'm not saying that I disagree with you. I'm not saying that I totally disagree with you, but you can really say who has clearly beaten Sean Porter other than Kell Brook. Maybe Kell Brook clearly beat him. So my point is this, right? My point is this, and like, of course, we're not giving participation awards. My point is that when he's in there with these top fighters, he's a threat to win. He's always a threat to win a fight, and as a boxing fan, I could appreciate that.
He's aggressive for sure.
He's super aggressive. He's gonna bring it. There's gonna be opportunity. There's going to be opportunity because that's the kind of fighter that he is. Yes, he smothers his work. He looks ugly at times, but there's also a lot of good things that he does in that ring, and some of his inside work could be really nice, especially when you got a fighter like a Errol Spence who's very offensive minded. Yeah, he defends himself while he's coming in, but he's also, his main thing is to beat you up. That's his main goal in that ring. And so I think against a guy like Manny Pacquiao, still at 42, 43, whatever Pacquiao age is still, him and Sean Porter is still a great fight. And
great fight, yes.
I would rather see that than fucking Mikey Garcia.
Well, this fight is just like the Danny Garcia fight for Errol Spence. It was already in the making. It was just waiting for all the signs to be done. It was waiting for the lights, the crowds to be in, and this was the gimme of whatever's happening next. And I don't know if everyone's considering it a tune-up for Danny and Errol. We all know that was just the fact they were testing the waters to see if there was any side effects of the car wreck, but that fight was going to happen even before the car wreck. This fight was going to happen no matter what, but one way or the other, whether Spence and or Crawford would have gotten the fight first, this would have been Manny's fight on the way out. This fight was going to happen, period.
This fight meaning Spence? This fight meaning who? Danny Garcia?
This fight meaning Mikey and Manny. This fight was already... This fight was all but signed before COVID happened. Everyone knew that was the route it was going to go. And it would have happened a year and a half ago or close to a year ago if it weren't for the pandemic. So the fact that this
Rightfully
fight's
so,
being
though.
signed
Style-wise,
is not surprising.
Style-wise, rightfully so. Style-wise, rightfully so, though. I mean, I'm just saying, Mikey is. I don't care what he wants to say. He's a 140 pounder, and
If that.
Pacquiao's, if that, and Pacquiao's about a 135 pounder, really. I mean, if you look at him, Blue Boy's a super heavyweight, but Manny's about a 135 pound fighter, and you know, I agree with what you're saying. Honestly, what I will say is that Porter, just his work rate, I don't think it's always effective. I just think it's just come forward, just ugly. If it has to be ugly, fine, whatever, you know. But you'll see if you just stall him, you know, if you just dig your heels in and stall him out, don't let him come forward. He will throw one punch, two punches, and then he will come forward to the point of smothering himself. And if you're a big enough guy to sit there and stall him out and trade with him, Spence showed you that you can beat him. Now, you'll notice that Spence didn't do that against Danny Garcia. You know, he did not just stand in a phone booth and trade and hook off with Danny Garcia. It would have been a good fight if he had done that. But he more boxed. And I think as far as, if you like, I mean, I like Pacquiao, so I'm just being a little biased here. I don't want to see him served up to some fucking, you know, basically some like not hype job. I don't want to see anybody none of these guys deserve to make their name off of Pacquiao right now. So I think as far as.
You don't want to see a Terry Norris, Sugar Ray Leonard, with all due respect to Terry Norris.
Well, yeah, I don't have any respect for Terry Norris, but no, I'm just kidding.
Listen, I hate to break it to you.
Yeah, you're right.
I hate to break it to you, but that's probably what's going to happen with Pacquiao if he keeps, because he's the type of guy. It seems.
Well, that's all fighters, dude. I mean, VA, it's all fighters. You know? I mean, that's fighters. But I tell you this much right now: who's bringing? You know, Pacquiao's bringing pay-per-view buys. I know the crowd, the live gates, and I got Lobito in the background. You hear Lobito?
No, there's no Lobito here.
I got that. I got my own Lobito over here. The American Lobito.
Okay.
My Lobito's in my pants.
Oh, wait a minute. It's a family show, man. Come on.
Say hello to Lobito.
But listen, when it comes to the Pacquiao Sean Porter thing, Prime Pacquiao handles Porter the way he handled Bradley. Because I think Sean Porter's in a Timothy Bradley level, maybe even below Timothy Bradley. I think Bradley was a better outside boxer than Porter is.
Yeah, a little bit better.
Yeah, but at this point, though, Porter does. I mean, I'm just flipping it's showing the other side of the coin here. Jeff Horn is a little bit like Sean Porter when it comes to the coming forward, chest to chest type fighting, and Pacquiao has never really.
Where's Ruslan Provodnikov? Ruslan.
Ruslan Provodnikov is not. What about what?
He's just coming. He's just coming forward. I mean, he's just gonna come fucking forward. You know, I mean, he's got that football type of mentality. There is no back foot. There is just forward. He's gonna throw. I mean, you know, he's shorter than most guys. You're right. I mean, you're right. I'm just saying for Manny, that's a good matchup.
So Manny's we're closing on 70 fights now.
Got
something years old.
Can you believe that shit?
But how many he had almost no amateur fights, whereas Porter has had well over 100 amateur fights. He's wasn't natural 165 pounder who's worked his way down, and he's 32 years old. There's been a lot of tough fights. All of his fights have been tough because again, he doesn't have the power to keep people off. He's either got to work hard or he's getting worked. And so we're talking about a fight that's not even on the table, but it's the more fun fight to talk about.
Yeah.
And Pacquiao and Porter, I just basically 2009 Manny Pacquiao doesn't even sweat this division. He rules it with a iron fist. None of them.
Understood.
Unless he fights like he does against Marquez and goes in looking for the knockout. But when he goes in and does his Pacquiao thing, like he did against Cotto, like he did against De La Hoya, like he did against Margarito, none of these guys on their best day give him more than maybe 3 to 5 rounds trouble tops. But he's 40.
So the question is this.
40-something years old.
The question is this for you, Jay.
Yeah.
The question is this for you, Jay. So that's agreed. What you just said is right on point. So here's the question for you, right? If you're Manny, you're bringing pay-per-view buys to the table. The live gate is the live gate, whatever it is. You're bringing the pay-per-view buys, right? If you're Manny Pacquiao, you're not going to do any better numbers with Porter, right? That's understood. You're going to do better. You're going to do better numbers, both gate and pay-per-view, with a guy like Garcia.
Especially if you have to fight May. May or September.
Yeah, May, right? The whole deal. You know, I just say stick with the 140 pounders, and I'm including Garcia in that group. Not a guy like you're saying, a guy who's like Porter, who's come down from middleweight basically, and who's just. I mean, I think he beats Porter. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he showed me a lot in that Thurman fight, but like Recognize said, once in his life he was right. It's been a long way off for Pacquiao.
Oh, yeah. There you.
I say grow that bull haircut out. Get it going now, and get in there against Mikey Garcia and make his money. I don't need to see him get chased around Errol Spence.
I don't mind seeing him against Danny Garcia after that. I mean, he's kind of at a twilight tour where he can pick who he wants to fight, and if he wants to go out on his shield and possibly win because it's Manny Pacquiao, he's the exception, not the rule, against a Crawford or a Spence. Because I have a feeling both of those guys are about to start having trouble making weight, and that
especially Spence. I'm getting, unless Spence is keeping a good diet now, and he's living this lifestyle where he's going to be smaller, because he did kind of look small against or slimmer.
He did. He looked almost like Lara in that fight.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good example. He kind of looked like that, and
didn't fight like it, but it's built like it.
It's built like it, yeah. So I think Spence is at this point. If he was going the route that he was going before the car accident, he's on the verge of hurting himself trying to make weight. But yeah, and look, if he fights Mikey Garcia, I'm a fan. I get it. I'll watch it. I don't like Mikey Garcia, honestly, and I just think of as a boxing fan, watching patterns. A guy's always due for, and I'm not saying that's what's going to happen if they fight. Definitely not. I'm still picking Manny Pacquiao to more likely school him, and maybe even stop him. Probably, I wouldn't be that shocked. But I would hate to see Manny Pacquiao show up his age and fucking gets the short end of the stick against Mikey Garcia.
So,
hey Jay,
if I may, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask you real quick. I was gonna ask you. I know you're a big Crawford fan, but you did say Pacquiao beats all these welterweights, right? That would include Crawford.
2009.
Yes, 2009 Manny Pacquiao. I think the 2009 Manny Pacquiao beats Mayweather, but it didn't happen, so we don't know. But that's what I thought. How dynamic I thought he was back then.
Yeah,
yes, that includes Terrence Crawford, and I know where you're going with this BDA, but yes, I do.
Yeah, because I was going to say, with Pacquiao in 2009, we got to put it into perspective, too. Like, I'm not saying Crawford and Spence and they're bad fighters. It's just that Pacquiao is that good. If Porter if Spence and Crawford and all these guys are once in a generation, then Pacquiao is the type of guy that's once every 10 generations.
These top welterweights. He was killing them. I mean, he was just beating them up. Like, he was just clearly outboxing these dudes. Hitting them with 3 shots to their 1. I mean, he was just unbelievable.
The only one he blew out, like Trevor Berbick style blew out, was Ricky Hatton. Everybody else he was explosive with. Yes, he power boxed them. Yeah, as Shane Mosley used to say. But it was to beat you up. It was to win the fight. I honestly think we would have seen this from him at featherweight if he wasn't killing himself to make weight. Nassim Richardson even said himself, it's not a fact of how he can make welterweight, it's how did he make featherweight. And if you looked at the day after weigh-ins of each of those fights, dating all the way back to the first Marco Antonio Barrera fight, he was 10 pounds heavier the next day on every one of those. At featherweight, he was weighing in at 130-something pounds. At 130, he was weighing in
super featherweight, 140, 141, yep.
Yeah, I want to say something about Pacquiao, man. But sorry, were you finished, Jay?
Well, I mean, my Recognize helped me make the point, so that was, we can go on.
I wanted to just say about Pacquiao, the one that really stands to me is that Cotto fight, the Pacquiao-Cotto fight, because Cotto showed up in shape. He showed up in shape, good game plan, sticking that jab, breaking through Pacquiao. So he wanted to show Pacquiao, look, I'm the bigger guy, but I can box with you too. And he was catching with shots. And the amazing thing is how Pacquiao said, okay, in the first 2.5 rounds, it was competitive. So Pacquiao then took it to another level. And then Cotto said, okay, I'm going to try to put it into overdrive and try to keep up with you. And then Pacquiao took it to another level. And just Cotto said, I can't do this. And remember, after the fight, Cotto said, and you got to keep in perspective, Cotto at that point had beaten Carlos Quintana, Mosley, Torres, Chop Corley coming up, Zab Judah. So he'd been in there with quick. Yeah, Margarito, although he didn't beat Margarito. So he'd been in there with top guys who could hit hard, guys who were fast. And he said after the Pacquiao fight, he says, hands down, this is the best guy I ever fought. Like, he's the best fighter I've ever been in the ring with. So that just goes to show you that Pacquiao against Cotto, I think there's very few guys in the welterweight history that could touch him. You'd have to go to taller guys like Robinson and Tommy Hearns.
I was watching that fight in a household bunch of Cotto fans, right?
I was
my
too.
family.
PRs, yeah.
My family. I remember I was in Florida when that fight happened, and I was watching it with my brother, who's a huge Cotto fan, and a couple of friends came over, and there was me and this one guy. We're like, we were teasing them. We're like, yo, don't sleep on Pacquiao. Pacquiao might wash him. The fuck out of here, this and that. And as that fight was going along, the silence.
Oh shit!
Silence.
It wasn't silent where I was at because I was gloating. I was gloating in that house, and I was not popular. You know, one white guy in a house full of Puerto Ricans cheering for
oh shit,
was not going over well. But I was invited. So I was never invited back, but I was invited.
Well, listen,
I had my brother calling me. My brother was calling me.
Sorry.
My brother was calling me a coon.
No way.
Jesus,
coconut. He was calling you a coconut. But listen, it's interesting because I was actually gloating for the first 3 rounds because I told people, because remember, Cotto had looked bad against Claudio, and of course he'd been stopped by Margarito a year earlier. So in the media, they were making it out to be as if Pacquiao was going to run through him. So the first 3 rounds, I was like, I told you Cotto was good. Then once he started running after the 5th, and he just went into survival mode. It's true. I was at a bar watching that fight. And the first 5 rounds, everybody was on the edge of their seats. And then, by the 8th round, everybody understood, he's just trying to survive now.
What round did he put him down in, the second or the third?
Third and
I think
fourth.
The second and the third.
No, third and fourth. Third and fourth. Third and fourth.
Third and fourth. Yeah, third and fourth round. Yep.
What did I just say?
He literally caught him with punches that like on the just to the naked eye, I didn't see it. It was like,
right, exactly. Neither did Cotto.
Like,
remember, just the look on Cotto's face.
Exactly, definitely.
Pacquiao was out of the picture frame. Remember, Pacquiao was gone, and Cotto just had this he was standing on one foot. Remember, he was standing on one. He was gonna throw a hook, I think, and Pacquiao caught him in the middle of it, and he was just like he was just fucking. Oh man, he didn't know where the fuck he was at.
So back then, I was associated with a stream show called The Boxing Truth with Ricardo Lois and John Chavez. I don't know if you guys remember that one. And my prediction there was Manny's a steam engine. You know, the first, second round, it may go slow, but once that bus starts going, once that train picks up full speed, that's the end of the fight. Now, whether it goes all 12 or not remains to be seen back then. But once that buzz starts going, Cotto wasn't going to be able to stop it. Now, if I may go on one small other tangent here, there's a lot of people that like to pull the whole regurgitated Mayweather that Cotto was having trouble making weight. At no time in the history of the sport have I found an live interview, meaning up to that point, where Cotto once complained about making weight, and he only had to weigh 1 pound less than he did 5 months before. He weighed 146 against.
Look at him in the weigh-in, Jay. Look at him in the weigh-in.
He looked fine.
Great at the weigh-in.
Yeah, I don't think Cotto never even said that, did he? Cotto never brought that up.
Cotto never said that.
No.
Cotto never said that.
Mayweather said up with
No, you're cutting off, Jay.
And he was killing himself to make weight.
Say it again, Jay, because you broke up. Say it again.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
The internet warriors love to regurgitate Mayweather's verbiage saying that he was killing himself to make weight, but there's been no evidence of that anywhere.
Because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, because it's not real.
Yeah. But I'll still say, though, what was the point?
Cotto was a gentleman. Cotto was a gentleman his whole career. He never really would bring that.
Yes, he was. No,
he was a loser, though. Saw a loser.
But I was going to say, though, real quick.
He was not.
But real quick, then why put that stipulation then about the weight? Why do it at a catch weight? Like, why not?
Look, I understand. Go ahead, BDA. I'm sorry.
No, well, I just
why put it in there if it wasn't gonna?
No, I was gonna say, look, it's not. I agree. Like, okay, you fought Oscar De La Hoya at 147. You know, why the fuck are you fighting Cotto at 145? I get that, but remember, Cotto was the guy who was at 140. He spent a couple of years at 147, and he was really coming in at 146. You know, like he was that was the way he was coming in. Now, it's not like he said, I'm going to rehydrate you too on top of that. There was people going around saying that there was a rehydration clause. Now, I don't know if it's true.
Negative.
Right. I don't know if it was true or not. You know, I never seen anything to that. And here's the most important thing. He didn't look weight drained. So he only started to look bad when he started getting caught with shots that he couldn't see coming. Okay, that's when he started looking bad.
The most important part to this is the bottom line is the max limit is 147. Not you have to weigh 147. 141 pounds is a welterweight title fight. That's just all there is to it.
You come in at 142.
Now, they stipulated they didn't want it to go above 145. Cotto signed on it. So
I forgot about the catch weight.
Too.
I forgot about that catch weight.
Hey Jay, you know how you know this is bullshit? Because when he fought, when I'm gonna give you the exact weights. You could go look it up for yourself. When he fought Margarito at 150, right? When he fought Margarito at 150 for a junior middleweight vacant belt. I think it was the WBO.
No, it's WBC.
WBC, excuse me. It was the WBC, right? It was a vacant belt.
Yeah.
The weight was 150. Pacquiao on the night of the fight weighed, I think, 144 and a half pounds. And the night of the fight, he weighed 148 pounds. Margarito made it at 150 on the dot.
Yep.
Came into that ring at the second day weigh-in. I don't know
20
what exactly
pounds
he came in. He was 165 pounds.
Yep.
Okay. The second weigh-in, the day after. And you saw him beat the shit out of him. He beat the living daylights out of him.
Yeah,
so he rehydrated. What I was going to say was Margarito rehydrated to the same he always makes it. He was solid. He was ripped. He wasn't bloated. He was ripped. And he got beat the shit out of. That's just little simple details like that tells me that whole shit was bullshit. But yeah, go ahead.
No, and then those two fighters, Mayweather and Pacquiao, are completely in lines together to where when you talk about one, people like to bring up the other, the counterpoints to the other. And I've done it. I've been on both sides. I've mainly been on Pacquiao's side, but I've done both sides. Pacquiao's just you don't find fighters like him pretty much ever. You know, I mean, no one's done the weight climbing, the success, and it's because of the hunger he had to want to be great. It wasn't just about riches. It wasn't just about fame. He wanted to be great, and he's still doing it to this day. No one's going to break this record of holding titles in 4 different decades. Someone can tie it, but no one's going to break it.
Yeah, the thing about Pacquiao. Oh, hold on. We got Precise on the line. Precise, are you there?
What up, everybody? I was just thinking back to the good old days. What if, after he beat Margarito, he went up and fought Sergio Martinez and beat him? I think he would have had a good chance to beat him. Imagine, like, what that would have meant. You know what I mean? Because Jay just said no one's going to beat what he already did. But what if he had gone up and beaten Martinez?
It's a big what if.
He beat the guy. He beat 2 guys that beat him anyway. You know what I mean? He beat 2 guys that beat Martinez.
He could have done it.
He could have beaten him, I think. So
that's the reason why I never gave the TBE title to Mayweather, because if you want to be TBE, you have to go above and beyond what normal fighters do, right? And people like to say, well, Mayweather didn't need to go to middleweight. Yes, he did, if he wanted to be TBE. And he had Martinez there. And not for nothing, but if he would have fought the no-legged Martinez, then he could have beaten him. But he didn't try. Just like Tank Davis didn't try to fight Berchelt.
If you look at Mayweather's career, he's just fine. Like he's fine. The question is, like, when I dissect Mayweather's career, I see a very successful career. I say that's a very good fighter. He's on that great level. But we're talking about the title, the greatest ever, or one of the greatest ever. And I know people get upset when they hear this because they play the numbers game. Like, this is basketball, or this is football. They don't take the intangibles, the things that you can obviously see. Manny Pacquiao was going up in weight and was destroying the same competition that Pacquiao was, that Mayweather was with. And or let's just put it this way: fighters in his generation couldn't do, except him. And here's this little guy coming up, and clearly he's doing this shit on pure boxing talent, instinct that you've never seen before, or you've seen it, but you know they don't come around that often. And that's the problem that I have with people who play the numbers game, because I know I'm clearly talking to a guy who's not really, he's not really paying attention to boxing. He's not paying attention to
numbers game meaning what? Undefeated, 50-0 type of shit?
Right, I'm undefeated. Oh, Manny
the money,
Pacquiao,
all the money.
The judges scored it 10 rounds to 2 in favor of Mayweather, so they couldn't be wrong, right?
And you and I talked about that the other day.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that. Look, judges could put anything they want on paper. Boxing's not judged like that. So I don't like talking to. There's a few guys on YouTube. There's a few guys that have come on this channel trying that shit. And it's like, dude, quite a few.
Objectively, Pacquiao is the greatest fighter of all time. I don't see anybody else even coming close. Like there's no. I mean, granted, I don't know all of boxing history, so maybe there's some, somebody that.
Right. If you go back in the fucking 20s, maybe. But I don't know.
I think we would have heard about that guy if there was somebody like that. You know what I mean? So, like, I just don't see how anybody else even comes close in an argument to the greatest fighter of all time. Now, you want to say that, like, you like this or that guy better, or you think he would have beaten Pacquiao. Okay, but that's not an argument for the greatest fighter of all time. By any metric, Pacquiao has to be that guy. I just don't see, like, where he lacks in comparison to any of the greatest.
And that's the thing to be in the debate. He has to be in the debate on who you like, because when you say the best fighter ever, it's still an opinion because there's no solid criteria of what makes that.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, there's no.
Of course there is.
Well, okay, I'm not going to totally argue that part because I do think he's one of the best ever. But I mean, you gotta recreate something that nobody else has done before. So what Henry Armstrong did, what Willie Pep did of going 60-0 2 different times in his career. What Sugar Ray Robinson did. These guys, they are Harry Greb. He went 48-0 in 1 year. These are things that other guys had that Mayweather never tried to do. That other fighters, that's what makes them who they are. And Precise is right. People try to do the numbers game to try and validate it. So Mayweather's got the win over Pacquiao. Okay, but I'm one of the arguers that thinks that Henry Armstrong could be considered the greatest fighter of all time, pound for pound history. Most people say Sugar Ray Robinson. Oh, when they won,
he only had three division titles. He was only lineal in 3 divisions, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, but there weren't. There weren't many.
He was only. Come on, Jay. That's better than 5. How's that better than 5?
Hold on. Yeah. Well, there weren't as many divisions back then.
I don't think Jay's getting that.
No. But Jay, hold on. The reason why I said 5 is because he was lineal in the original 5 weight division.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. Well, he got the draw at the middleweight title, so we had a featherweight that worked his way up all the way to middleweight and fought the middleweight champion to a draw. That would have been 4.
But look. Here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line with Pacquiao. People always say, when people say about Pacquiao, they talk about the junior welterweight and welterweight Pacquiao, and they go like, well, he didn't do this and that. Think about it. Everything he did after lightweight, he wasn't supposed to be doing that. Like he beat. Listen, think about it. At featherweight, I mean lower weight, he beat Barrera twice. He beat Juan Manuel Marquez. He beat Morales twice. If you want that Leduaba win there too as well. You got all those sensational wins. That's Hall of Fame shit right there. Even before he went up to 140, 147, everything afterwards is icing on the cake. That's what when people compare that to Mayweather. Mayweather slowly but surely made his way up to 140 and 147. By the time he fought Zab Judah, I don't know about you guys, but I thought he looked bigger than Zab Judah in their welterweight fight, and that was after only.
Are you talking about Cotto Zab, right?
Mayweather. No, Mayweather when he fought Zab Judah.
No, Mayweather. Okay, yeah. Mayweather was. I think he was filling out to be at least as big as him, if not a little bit bigger already.
And by the way, I was in a special chat room. Just real quick, I was in a special chat room with Mayweather because he came in as a guest and we all got to ask him one question. And I asked him, you look pretty big against Zab Judah. What'd you do? He says, "Oh, I just do a lot of strength training." Like real vague shit. No, seriously, motherfucker. What the fuck are you doing? Well, anyway, yeah, go ahead, Precise.
Strength training.
Well, just to compare Pacquiao to someone like Armstrong, like Pacquiao did what he did on the road in hostile territory on a global boxing.
Very good point.
Now, I know Armstrong fought like some foreign guys, but it was mostly just two Americas, and it was the Western world boxing scene. And he fought at least the big fights, from what I understand, at home. And yeah, there was that aspect of, him being a black guy in white America and all that. But he was, the simple fact that they let him hold, what was it, 2 or 3 titles at the same time, he was a Canelo of the state, that's for sure. So that argument doesn't fly with me. The fact that Pacquiao did what he did, trumping someone like Armstrong in a number of divisions, surmounted on the road every single goddamn lineal title he won. He went into hostile territory and beat the homeboy there. I mean, no one's ever going to do it.
I'll take that. I will take that completely. And I'm not going to argue that part. I was going to try and bring everything back to the comparison between he and Mayweather. I just went too long-winded on the other direction. We're going over to Mayweather for a second.
I'll give Hang number 2. How about that?
Very generous. Very generous of Precise.
What you can't say about Manny is that, he didn't take maybe Crawford and Spence, and this hasn't been worked out yet, but at the top of his game, you can't say a single fighter he didn't fight. Okay, I'm going to name off a list of fighters Mayweather did not fight, did not call out, and did not challenge, and did not accept contracts to. 1, Paul Spadafora. 2, Shane Mosley at lightweight. He actually denied Shane his existence while Shane was ringside to one of his fights at 130. He did not fight Sergio Martinez, who was number 1 ranked for that 154-pound belt he won off of De La Hoya. He did not fight Antonio Margarita, who challenged him in public. He did not fight Vernon Forrest. These are guys that were there ranked and that were champions or former champions that were there at him trying to get fights with him. Winky Wright was another one.
Hey, Jay, remember that 2008 year? He left and he let all those guys fight each other. He let those guys sort it out.
That's where you know something. BDA. That's where I lost. He lost that claim.
He's not even in the conversation. I'm just saying my opinion.
He lost that claim.
For me, he's not even in the conversation.
I agree. I totally agree, dude. When Manny Pacquiao's coming up in weight, you could tell he's clearly the smaller guy, and is taking your work and beating those guys in dominant fashion. Yep. That guy, right? Especially you didn't beat the shit out of him. You never fought him in his prime. When you did fight, you won on politics. Basically, you already won the fight before you went in. Okay, you didn't show. Listen, this is the difference between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. I'm sorry, Manny Pacquiao is. When it comes to Floyd is like second runner up by a long distance in his generation. Yep. That's just my opinion.
I'm obviously in the company of the right people. No, I'm in the company of the right people.
Don't speak so fast.
You guys are obviously saying the same
Pete,
thing.
You talk too much, Pete.
Yeah, Pete, you talk too much. Man.
My bad.
Take that wig off.
I will listen to the rest of y'all's responses on the recording of this, but it's dinner time with me and my family, so everybody have a good night. BDA, thank you for having me on.
Have fun,
Enjoy that dinner, Jay.
Be good,
Enjoy that dinner, bro.
Take it easy, Jay. Thank you for being on.
Well, let me ask the panel something. Real quick. Really quick. Okay, so I want you to go back at that time. Don't think about now. It's a difference, right? Don't be stupid. Like, think about back then.
Okay.
Was you 100% confident Manny Pacquiao was going to beat Oscar De La Hoya?
No.
Yeah. At that time, I would have picked Pacquiao to beat Mike Tyson, and I was a Pacquiao.
No. Listen. The Manny Pacquiao that just had a fight with David Diaz and said, "Okay, I'm just doing my job. I'll take the fight and fight Oscar De La Hoya, my hero."
I'm going to say at that time, on the record, I did pick him to win that fight, but it was more because of where De La Hoya was at in his career. But
was you super confident that outcome was going to happen? No,
not that one-sidedly.
Well, you got to remember.
But I was deluded.
Take it easy, man. Take it easy.
I was on mushrooms.
Yeah, but you got to remember with Pacquiao.
Who said that? Who said that?
It was precise. You got to remember with Pacquiao, when he was going up to fight De La Hoya, it was because De La Hoya was initially supposed to fight Mayweather in a rematch, and then Mayweather decided
Yeah.
Right. He decided to fuck off. So Bob Arum, desperate, out of desperation, said, "Hey, Pacquiao, you want the fight?" And Pacquiao said, "All right." Like he jumped up those two divisions.
And by the
to
way,
fight
that fight with Mayweather was gonna happen at 147.
Oh, geez, yeah,
It's gonna happen at 147 because Mayweather said, "Yeah, I'll fight him again at 147 pounds."
Yeah, but you gotta also remember that Pacquiao
it was cool for Floyd to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. Pacquiao was supposed to fight.
My point is that I've seen real quick about BDA. I'm sorry. This is just me personally, right? One of the reasons why I put him up there is because there was several fights that he's been in where I said I don't think he can win this one. It's a 50-50 shot he's got, or I've even picked him to lose the fight. And two of them were the Oscar De La Hoya. I'm not gonna lie. I said I don't know. He might hit a wall there. And Miguel Cotto.
Look, I knew Pacquiao was gonna beat De La Hoya. I mean, I picked him to win, even though he was the underdog. But I didn't expect him to bust him up and stop him the way he did. But I did think because De La Hoya,
that's the key. The performance, the outcome. You did not see that coming into the fucking fight. Come on, man.
Exactly, yeah. The stop and against Hatton, I thought he was going to be competitive. I did not think he was going to wipe the floor with him in 2 rounds. And then the Cotto fight. After the Cotto fight, that's when I said, okay, he's got to fight. Him and Mayweather have to get it on. I mean, there's no ifs and buts about it. But you got to remember with Pacquiao, man. Like I keep saying, he wasn't even supposed to be a welterweight in the first place. Maybe some people thought, okay, maybe eventually he'll make it to 140 at one point. But 147, and I will say
Where
this:
Where did he start? 12. He started at 112.
Flyweight. He started.
It was
15,
like 16, yeah. But his success was really flyweight.
Flyweight, yeah. He was at 105
when he came up.
Even this last one,
I think he fought at minimum weight, but he was like doesn't really count.
He had to put rocks in his fucking shorts just to make the minimum weight.
Even this last one, nobody expected him. You could add that to the list. Recognize the Thurman fight, and he became the oldest welterweight. So I mean, there's been a lot of great welterweights that are actually true welterweights. But to have this small guy become the oldest welterweight champion, that's a signal right there.
Gonzalo. Not just that, Gonzalo. But arguably the greatest welterweight of all time. You just look at the list of names that he beat in that weight and that he fought and had close fights with, arguably, beat. You look at that record. I'm no history buff, but I doubt there is another fighter that has a record at welterweight. And if anybody does, they got losses too. But this is what I was gonna say. The difference between Pacquiao and Mayweather at 147. Pacquiao cleaned out that division, and that includes Mayweather because that's the reason why Mayweather retired. He conceded. He said, "You're better than me," and that's why he retired. Obviously, that's my opinion, but into it. So, Mayweather never even came close to it.
Yeah, that's why I went.
And that includes Floyd.
When people bring up the Mayweather is better than Pacquiao argument, they use their fight as the main point of, well, I mean, how can Pacquiao be better if Mayweather beat him? But here's the thing. You got to put it into context. First of all, we mentioned all the things Pacquiao did that Mayweather didn't do, right? And the context is that he wasn't even supposed to be in that weight division in the first place, the higher weight divisions. And number 3, it's not like Mayweather wiped the floor with him. It's like Thunderdome put it, I forget how he said it, but he said something that along the lines of Mayweather didn't really outbox him. He just stalled the fight, in other words, and landed 2-3 more punches. That's hardly schooling somebody. But I do give Mayweather.
Pacquiao landed many more punches than Floyd did. All you got to do is.
Tyson and Jones fought. It doesn't matter. They're fucking ancient. If you wait long enough, it's not going to be the same fight.
Right, but my point is, look, Mayweather, I give him credit because Bradley was quick himself, very speedy and all that, and he couldn't, 3 times, I mean, forget the first fight, but I mean, he couldn't do what Mayweather did against Pacquiao. But even then, Mayweather it was a very anticlimactic performance, and it's the
I don't think Mayweather could do what Bradley did against Pacquiao. Bradley came to win. Bradley came to win. Now, it didn't work out that way, but he did come to win the fight, came to take it to him. Mayweather came to survive and get political points.
Yeah, listen, Mayweather fought like an old Hopkins. At least Hopkins, he had the excuse
when Mayweather banged his gloves together in that 7th round, when he started banging his gloves together, I wanted to fucking get up and just straight up kick a fucking hole in my TV. I wanted to kick the TV off the wall. when he started mocking Manny. Fucking.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, let me ask you guys a question. I understand you can go back to records and, Chavez could have retired after Mildred Taylor at 90-0. Just saying. And
something like that, 88-0, some shit like that. Yeah.
89-0 going into the Taylor fight. So I'm just saying, and you want to talk about soft touches and like fucking Mexico fights and tomato cans. Okay, so there you go. So what the fuck does the record mean? In other words, if Chavez retired 90-0, no one would ever touch him. And what would you say? Yeah, but.
Yeah.
So,
Ricardo Lopez is
Floyd
what?
can retire 50-0. I don't want to hear about it. You follow me?
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
other thing about this, Matrix went back and talked about watching Cotto fight. I go back and watch fucking Pacquiao fights all the time. The Marquez, the Barrera, the fucking the Margarito fight, the Cotto fight. Can anybody go back and tell me which fucking Floyd fights they go back and watch? But
here, Pete, you're going into that argument of I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to greatness, you do have to also consider the rewatchability of a fight, right? But people are gonna come back and say, oh, they're just because I have already heard this argument a million times. They're gonna come back and say, well, just because Mayweather was boring doesn't mean he wasn't the better fighter, because this is boxing, it's not brawling. But again, I go back to the whole thing of Pacquiao. But hold on.
You watching for excitement? You watching for fucking?
I got you. But here's my counter. Here's what I say. I go back to the fucking weight and height. Pacquiao, who's not 5 feet 6 inches tall, by the way, he's more like 5 feet and a half, 5 inches.
5'5".
Yeah, 5'5". Yeah. And when he goes in there, when he runs over Cotto and Hatton and De La Hoya, better in more impressive fashion than Mayweather did. And he did it with a bunch of other fighters too, common fighters. There comes a point where you gotta say, okay, this guy, I know it's boxing, I know one guy can fight defensively and the other guy can fight more offensively, it's their choice. But come on, when he's running through these guys and Mayweather's playing grab ass with him, like Johnny Boy would say, if you're comparing the two, you can then use that argument that, look, Pacquiao was the more interesting fighter as a vector for, or as a characteristic to say, yeah, he was better than Mayweather. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm not watching chess. I'm not watching a fucking chess match.
Don't get caught up in the 7 losses, because 2 he got robbed. The 2 in the Philippines, I'm not even going to talk about those. But the other ones, you could dispute. You can make an argument that Pacquiao won those fights, with the exception on the one that he got knocked out, that he was winning when Marquez was on steroids.
You could look at. People will look at Pacquiao and say, oh, he lost to this guy or this and that. But, like, Pacquiao fought so many more guys. Floyd Mayweather would not have, like, I'm sure people will disagree.
That was going to be my point.
No way in hell does Floyd beat Antonio Margarito in his prime. He doesn't do it. Margarito would have run through little Floyd, and I think the Jesus Chavez fight proved that. To me, it did anyway. And then he also dug Thurman. Pacquiao fought Thurman. Floyd Mayweather didn't want to fight his little baby brother. I mean, I'm not saying that was like bitch about, but Pacquiao beat right Bronner. Floyd didn't want to fight Bronner. Like you look at all these guys that Floyd ducked, but Pacquiao picked up the slack and beat him. Who's to say Floyd would have beaten those guys? Prime Cotto?
You don't know that. Yeah.
Old beat up Cotto gave Floyd one of his toughest fights. Prime Cotto could have very well beaten Floyd, and now have Floyd fight Cotto 4 times. Prime Cotto 4 times. Like Pacquiao did Marquez. You telling me he's not going to lose one of those fights? Of course he will.
Gonna lose.
Hey, by the way, remember when Mayweather, because Jay mentioned Winky Wright as one of the guys Mayweather dodged. Remember he called out Winky Wright, and Winky Wright called out his bluff and said, all right, let's do it. And then Mayweather decided to do something else. So, I mean, I think,
every obstacle he gave Winky Wright said, yeah, I'll do it. And then he's like, nah. Then like at the end, nah, we're not interested. And that's the difference, okay? Manny Pacquiao was gonna fight fucking 6'2" Paul Williams. There's evidence to prove that. That's not like some fucking internet rumor. It's actual like video evidence that shows Paul Williams' manager, I forget his name at the time, saying, "Yo, that was a phone call from Manny Pacquiao's people. If you win this fight, they want to fight you next." You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Little 5'5". I'm trying to picture somebody 5'5" saying, "Yeah, I want to fight this 6'2" I want to fight this guy who's 6 feet 2 inches tall. let's do this. I'm just doing my fucking job. Like the guy, come on, man.
Not
true,
my
man.
ex-girlfriend. Have you seen somebody like that?
When he got to America, it was really a blessing because he got to experience a whole different life that bettered him, that helped him out as far as accommodating him, like it accommodates many fighters in the United States.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, look, listen, the Pacquiao thing. I know the other argument people bring up is, well, look at Marquez knocked Pacquiao out and arguably beat him in their fights. Meanwhile, Mayweather went in there and wiped the floor with him. Yeah, but then you can also go back and say, well, look at the two guys that Mayweather never dreamed of fighting, Margarito and Clottey, and Pacquiao wiped the floor with him. I mean, he got hit and all that, but I mean, he barely lost a round in that one too. So, yeah.
And why is that not an asterisk on his legacy? Like, okay, the two guys in your time in boxing, in your prime, that people wanted to see you fight, you didn't fight him, but the little Filipino guy coming up in weight went in there, fought these guys, and not only beat them, dominated them. Like he clearly beat these guys, and it's just like, okay, look, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. You think whatever you want to think. Okay, that's it. But don't tell me that there is no argument that Pacquiao was a better historical fighter than Mayweather. I mean, there's so much evidence to suggest that he was. And
exactly.
It's just crazy when I hear people talk like that. But go ahead, BJ.
Chris Gonzalez in the chat says, I'm 5'5" and I will knock the fuck out Recognize. Oh, that's a threat right there, Recognize.
Oh.
I'm telling you, sorry, my ex-girlfriend.
Hey,
listen,
Gonzalez. Wait, I got a little message from Gonzalez. Say hi to little Brianna for me.
Right? No, Chris. It's Chris, not John Gonzalez. It's Chris Gonzalez.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, maybe I should have never said that.
Yeah, you're revealing that.
I take that back.
By the way, did you hear Precise say, yeah, I picked Pacquiao in that De La Hoya, but I was deluded.
I did hear that. I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
Hey,
honest answer.
Fellas, when it comes to the Manny Pacquiao Mayweather thing, Bucho said...
Precise, I'm calling bullshit that you picked Manny Pacquiao to spark out Oscar De La Hoya.
I don't remember if I picked that, but I thought he was going to win the fight.
Hey, listen, everybody, stay on the line. We got to end the episode, but everybody on the Discord, stay on the line. We got to palaver about a couple of things. But shout out to everybody that donated this. Right. Shout out to everybody that donated the super chat. I'm talking about Virtuoso and Chris K. Everybody. Kevin from Chicago in the chat room. Jonathan Morrison, Chris Gonzalez, Grievous, The Fight Scout, Andres Hernandez, Vince Vegas, GB Guthrie, Stoinge, and a whole bunch of people. Listen, fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Oh yeah, like I was gonna say, that Bucho wanted to do a special episode where we just focus on that Mayweather Pacquiao, and we would actually have to bring up
legacy debate.
Yeah, bit of.
We're gonna get some opposing viewpoints in here because we just circle jerk around about Pacquiao, which is fun. I mean, I love a good circle jerk, but we got to get some Mayweather freaks in here. And can I say one more thing on the record before we go off?
Yeah.
Everybody said it already. Great job on the documentary. Fucking. You really caught me off guard with that. I thought it was going to be like a 5-minute, kind of like a joke. But you really showed me something. Thank you.
Well, that's why I did it, just to show Pete that we have what it takes.
That copyright strike that you had gotten, that was me. Because you used my voice without my permission.
Yeah, that's why I got a letter from Recognize's lawyer saying, "Hey, listen, you got to." No, but really, yeah, I appreciate it.
I never got paid for that, bro. Come on.
Yeah, well, what do you want from me, man?
You're still cooperating from the bootleg case.
Well, anyway, listen, Pete, I appreciate your comments on that, and we do hope everybody enjoyed the documentary. Hey, that's the thing. What's the next documentary we should do on Ryan Garcia?
No.
Come on, it's got to be Ryan Garcia, man. Because it's got to be exciting, man. It's got to be something exciting. Can't just be.
What did you say, Ryan Garcia? Did you say Ryan Garcia?
Yeah, Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia, bro.
Oh my god. Anyway, no, it's got to. Shit, maybe like a fucking Pac versus Mayweather. I mean, I don't know how many hours that took. That took a long time, but it's got to be something bigger than Brian Garcia dancing around. I mean, you got enough of that on your hard drive.
Yeah, we do.
Well,
we don't need more.
Do Bronner.
Precise and Thunder. I don't know if you could get it back in those days, bro. They had some gem videos on that shit.
Gennady Golovkin, on how when he came here in 2011, people didn't want to fight him. Canelo rejected to take the fight. How he's gonna break Bernard Hopkins' record, Hopkins with Golden Boy. That didn't happen, and till now, the whole saga.
Good one. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Because look up all the old YTBC videos where they everyone's talking about Bronner being the future of boxing.
Jeez, Louis. Yeah, that's it. We would have to go back to those videos because I wasn't even around YouTube back then. But it's got to be involved in the internet somehow. The documentary it can't just be historical documentary documenting what happened in the ring and outside. It's got to involve the internet a little bit too, make it more exciting. But anyway, listen, fellas. We'll talk later, by the way, on Discord. I actually do have to go. But listen, thank you everybody for joining us. Everybody that joined us here on the Discord as well. I mean, we had Jay drop by, Mark from Unrivaled Boxing Talk. I know Gonzalo just came back as well. Precise, Pete, Recognize the Matrix. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. Always appreciate it. And to everybody in the chat room as well, like I said. And
call me on Discord, man. I got the house to myself, man. I'm here by myself. I can talk as long as I want.
All right, I'll contact you, man. All right, take it easy, fellas. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one, fellas. Catch you later.
Peace.